Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Divyanshu Damani. I'm the co-founder CEO at TagMango. We help creators and coaches make money online by selling all kinds of digital products, from courses to workshops to memberships, and we provide them the whole suite of tools that requires them to build an online successful coaching business altogether. This is an episode of the Mango Insider or TMI. There's no TMI at TMI. What our attempt with TMI is that we want to get the best kind of content for all kinds of creators, artists, authors, writers, anyone who's a creative professional, from getting to know about how to scale on social media and what are the best hacks, strategies and mindset that's required, what are the business and content monetization opportunities that you could potentially unlock, and what are the personal traits and the mindset that's required to be the best of the best in the space. And we'll get you creators and coaches from all kinds of niches to come and share all those little nuggets of wisdom with you guys itself. Today's episode is an author's special. We're joined by three incredible authors who've had an incredible impact in their respective fields. First, we have Ravinder Singh, who joins us, who's also known as the king of romance. He's written 9 novels so far, and his most famous one, which is I Too Had a Love Story, went on to sell 1 million+ copies. He's gone about to etch a special place in the heart of his own readers. Next up, we have Gurmehar Kaur. She's an incredible young woman who's gone on to study at esteemed institutions from Lady Shri Ram College in India to Oxford College outside. She's gone on to write 2 incredible books, The Small Acts of Freedom and The Young and the Restless. Through her journey, she's navigated extreme personal loss and public scrutiny while staying extremely courageous and strong. And the final guest that we have for today is none other than Sweta Samota. She's gone on to write 17 total different books across non-fiction and fiction categories. And she also has this incredible community that she runs on TagMango, which is called the Indian Authors Academy, where she goes about teaching how someone else can go about becoming an author and also publishing their first book. If you're a budding author, a budding writer, someone who has an inclination towards writing itself, we're going to cover everything from how can you go about thinking about publishing your first book, what are the different opportunities you could explore with writing, and also what are other kinds of mindset that's required for you to become successful in this particular domain. If you're a budding writer, then you have to watch this podcast till the very end. Let's dive straight into it. All right, welcome guys. Thank you so much for joining in and flying in from different parts of the city for this episode of the Mango Insider, TMI. It's never TMI at TMI. We got that. But the objective, of course, for this podcast as a whole is this is focused for creators, coaches, artists, particularly the creative professional. How can they improve on their craft? What they can do with respect to the business opportunities that are there, keeping in mind there's so many trends across the world and how the world is constantly changing. So you wanted to get the three of you who come from really diverse backgrounds to get your perspective, particularly for anyone who's thinking on becoming a writer or an author, or in that journey wants to build a career, is thinking of potential opportunities from a business standpoint that they could ideally do, any other things in terms of improving their craft and what they should be studying and everything they should be aware of, including AI, etc., that we'd love to touch upon with this conversation. And by the end of the conversation, they take something to take away for themselves, which can be extremely valuable. But firstly, thank you once again for joining in. To begin out the conversation, I'd love to kind of dive into first your stories respectively, and I know this is the standard thing to do, which is journey se shuru karte hain, but I feel that'll be important for the context of the conversation. And while we're diving into your stories, I'd love to know some of the early experiences that shaped you, that you got into thinking about becoming an author or a writer yourselves. What were the key inflection points or main decisions that you took in the journey that really got you here, and what was also the psychological framework at those different points of time in your life, which also got you into writing books, fall in love with writing altogether, and all that we'd like to cover. So anyone would like to kind of kickstart with their story?
Ladies first.
No, I was going to say, I think Ravinder should start first.
No.
Or actually, ma'am, why don't you start first?
Go ahead.
All right, Sweta.
Okay, fine. I'll take the lead.
Sure, yeah. So anything, I mean, if you can cover from the beginning in terms of how your childhood was, how your schooling was. I know that you scored a perfect score of 100 on physics, chem, and math.
Maths, yeah.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's crazy. And even before that, like just to give overall kind of framework on how your early personality was built out, which got you also inclined towards writing maybe, and those interests that have now been used in different formats, and that personality has now been used with everything that you're building, including writing 17 books so far, which is an insane number.
So whoever gets 100% physics, chem, maths wouldn't dream to be a writer or an author.
For sure not.
Full time. Of course, they would want to write a book and share it to the world, but they wouldn't plan. So I didn't plan to be here. It all happened, actually went through the journey. I come from a very orthodox kind of family, but I'm very fortunate that my parents were not like that. So they really supported me in this journey. The reason why I got 100% is I wanted to study. I saw education as my door to a new life. I became the first person to actually step out from my small city, Akola.
Are you from Akola?
From Akola to Pune for engineering. And that time I didn't want to do an engineering, but because I got 100%, it was the only natural thing to do in those days.
Right. Got it. And did you also write at that point of time? Did you journal
I did journaling because again I saw my mother journal every day. So I used to journal that time and also write poetry. So I had a book ready by 9th standard. My book was ready, but no one knew how to get it published.
So you had your book ready by 9th standard?
By 9th standard, my collection of poetry, poems.
Okay. And these poems were like what, any genre specific?
More on success, more on how do you grow as a person. So more of Richard Bach kind of work. Metaphorical. On life, yeah.
That's crazy. In class 9, you were thinking of no wonder you've already published like 17 books.
No, but
preparation बहुत पहले शुरू की थी.
But it's not just me. Okay, so other members from my school, like students, they were already doing that.
Yeah.
So one of the girls had already got published.
What school is this?
हाँ मैं वही सोच रहा था कि privileged school में क्यों गए ना?
Privileged school भी नहीं है, but yeah, it's a good school. And then she was already on a television show, and that really inspired me. That wow, you know. Okay. But yes, I got into engineering because 100% every college was ready to take me. So zeroed down on a good engineering college called as PICT, Pune Institute of Computer Technology. Did my computer engineering there, got into the top, like that time also got 2-3 job offers, got into software engineering job.
Yeah, before that, I'd like to double click on your engineering journey. Can you tell me more about like how your college life was? Were you participating in like extracurriculars then?
Yes.
Were you part of maybe literary societies?
So not literary society, but participating in dance and what else? Yes, technologically had 2 papers, IEEE papers.
What papers?
IEEE papers. So there is a society which focuses on tech stuff.
Okay.
So we got awarded by the IEEE Society, multiple competitions. So there's like a research if you do, then you submit and then you go ahead and present your ideas. So reading also, I would say that time also I was reading, that is when I got into one of my favorite books, which is Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yeah.
Then, you've read it?
Of course.
It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
Then The Alchemist and more on the fiction side. Yes, in college days it was fun to read apart from the engineering books.
Then post-college what happens?
So worked with several companies, I think for 10 years, more than 10 years.
Yeah, you've been
software engineer career.
Full-fledged, very analytical.
Very analytical, and my job was to write very deep level like coding, C stuff on firmware. So my core was into networking, routers and all, and used to write C code for that.
Got it.
And then we did a startup So all this while, it was not that I was happy.
All right.
Even if I was the highest paid that time, I mean, probably if I would be working right now in a software career, I know I would be the highest paid. So that time also I was highest paid, still I was not happy. So doing a lot of side hustles, presenting my business plans to VCs. So 2005 also we did the Thai OREN. So we continuously pitching, me and my husband. So
what were you pitching? I mean, this is
different ideas.
So which year did college get over?
2003.
2003 college got over, and from 2003 you got into software jobs.
Yes.
And you were doing exceptionally well in those software jobs, coding and building a career. But
yes.
But you could not find a sense of fulfillment.
Fulfillment, yeah.
By virtue of those jobs, even though, and why do you think that happened? The question where I'm coming from is because, of course, you had built this this picture of that, hey, I want to escape.
I did.
yeah. And that's what you're looking to chase.
Yes.
And then after you got that, you might have gotten accolades, you built wealth for yourself.
Yes.
And then you realized, hey, this is not really what's bringing me fulfillment altogether.
So the freedom then was like, now I have the freedom to think about what I really want to do. Before that, the thing was I want to get free.
Okay.
Now I wanted the freedom to do what I want to do. So 10 years, did a lot of side hustles, like doing different things.
Okay.
And then there was one point when I was literally crying that I cannot just go back to job. And my daughter was there by that time. And I was like, maza nahi aa raha hai.
Which year is this?
This is 2012.
So 10 years of corporate life and then this.
Yes, yes.
So was it the long working hours? Was it the lack of enjoyment to maybe sitting in front of screen and writing code? What was it about the corporate job that you particularly did not enjoy?
So it was not about, what I was not liking. It was like, this is not what I am made to do. Like, I am here for more. And that was not giving me more. So like, it was like, I wanted more for myself, make more name, impact more people, and I didn't want to be the person who is just sitting in the cubicle, coming back. It was kind of that routine while life. That is what I didn't like. That go, do the job, come back and again do your family duties, and again get up in the morning and go. There was no excitement.
It's not inspiring.
And there was no risk also. Maza nahi aa raha tha. Literally, maza nahi aa raha tha. So I told my husband, I cannot take it, anymore. And he's like, okay, we have enough in the bank account. Go ahead. And we had one business idea. So then for 3 years, built another startup. This time, full time.
Okay, so you were doing all these side hustles.
वो कुछ नहीं, अभी new idea.
अभी नया एक idea है.
Yes.
And then वो idea, this is in what domain?
EdTech startup.
Was an EdTech startup.
Yeah.
What were you planning? What were you guys?
Apps. So mobile app for schools. We had our own school circuit and
Got
school
it.
circuit app.
Got it.
And also we made custom apps for schools.
Okay.
Colleges.
So toolkit for schools.
Apps, mobile app.
Mobile
app for schools.
For schools.
Yeah.
So is it consumer facing? Like
It was a B2B.
it was a B2B.
Yeah.
So schools
Would be the
interacting
clients.
with the parents.
School interacting with parents, yes.
Okay, and parents would get a complete update of the
Yes.
kid, etc.
Yes.
across.
And this
Got
was
it.
in 2013-14. So we took like a year to develop everything. And then we realized that, we are too early because tab tak Jio nahi tha. Internet was
2016
not
Jio came.
easily available.
Yeah.
And the major problem we faced were the teachers didn't have internet or smartphones. So then how would they support? Plus this was added work for them. Why would they do it with no payment?
Right.
And we got a lot of feedback from school. They were not ready to pay.
Yeah.
Ed, especially school side.
Right.
They more like kitna choosna hai. So
Right. In this 10 years of your corporate career, did you have like a connection to writing?
yeah, I did one book in 2007-8.
Okay, so one of the side hustles was also writing a book.
Writing a book, yeah.
भाई, हमारे
That
side
was
hustles भी ऐसे तो बंदा रहेगा.
that was Crack That C interview. So I took
Sorry, what was it?
Crack That C interview.
Okay.
It was a technical book.
Oh, nice.
How can you crack your interviews? C interview.
Okay.
And that was a traditionally published book. Then I think there is a problem that then occurs later, which I'll share now.
Okay.
What happens then?
Yes, please.
So startup happened.
Okay.
2-3 years. When you try to be very, very tough on yourself, or you show to the world that I can do it, but sometimes it takes a toll. And for me, it was agoraphobia, which is a phobia of going out of comfort zones. Yeah.
What phobia?
It's a phobia of going out of comfort zones.
What did you call it?
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia.
Yeah.
It's A-G-O-R-A.
Agora.
So when did you find out?
So that was sometime in 2014-15 time frame.
But you were also doing all these side hustles, which is going outside of your comfort zone.
That's what I'm saying, you know.
I really want to know. This is so exciting.
So,
so inspiring.
I got to know only when I had visited a wedding in Indore, and coming back from there, I'm like, abhi bahut ho gaya startup, nahi chal raha hai. Meaning, the sales are not happening. Like, schools for 1 year, they used everything for free. And then the next year when we went back, okay, now payment, and mostly it was me traveling for sales.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, abhi we'll see.
Indian customer. Yeah.
Didn't happen. So that time I went with my mother to my place. My daughter was there, and through that entire journey, I had palpitations. While my entire family was there, and I was not feeling right. Then वहाँ पहुँच के I told एक दिन निकल गया, 2 दिन निकल गया. I was like, हो जाएगा ठीक, जैसे हमेशा ठीक होता है.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen this time. So I told my mother कि I have to see a doctor.
Was it like a panic attack that you felt? Just like a extended panic attack?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that time I had no idea that this was what was happening to me.
You couldn't term it. There's no coining of the term.
Yes.
You're not aware of.
So that time they took me to a heart specialist because I was complaining कि मुझे palpitations हो रहा है.
Right.
And this doctor says, okay, what is the conflict you're going through in your life? Is everything okay with you and your husband, and how is it? And I'm like, okay, क्यों पूछ रहे हैं?
Right.
So he told that you're depressed. I'm like, I cannot be depressed. So first response was denial.
Yeah.
Came back to Navi Mumbai and again started going through the same thing. The challenge was every time I used to go to pick my daughter and again panic attack. And I used to drive myself. जब भी red signal था ना, वो मेरे लिए एक panic था. Okay. And again I get that. Okay, so I tell her, and she's I think 3-4 year old.
Yeah.
Okay, she's not understanding. I tell her that you just give me a water bottle, and I emptied that water bottle on my head, just to get out of it.
Yeah.
And that day I decided, ये ऐसे तो नहीं चलेगा. I have to go and see a doctor. That's when I visited a psychologist, and that time he told me, okay, you're suffering from agoraphobia.
How did you take that news? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, please.
No, but
So I just couldn't believe it that, okay, I am suffering from it. So cried for days, looking at just that fan.
yeah.
A lot of times contemplated suicide. And then I looked at my daughter, and I looked at my family, and looked at my parents. It was like कि इसके लिए तो नहीं है ना अभी. So from here I have to go back. So I have to overcome this somehow. And my husband really motivated me कि you get into this Million Soman Pinkathon. It happened. Got a really good community there, where they inspired me. Where I saw that women at the age of 70 years doing 10 kilometers, 40 kilometers, 35 kilometers, and I'm like, यार मैं तो अभी 35-36 की हूँ. And I'm thinking कि और life खत्म हो गई, ऐसा सोच रही हूँ कि life खत्म हो गई, अभी तो this really long way to go. Yeah. So they inspired me, but yes, family matters. And when it comes to it, you feel like, let's go through whatever it is. Similar time, Modi ji started following me on Twitter.
Oh, is it? So I did hear somewhere, but what was the reason that he followed?
I think maybe campaigning. I think he's the best person to tell why he followed. Right. But maybe, so he followed before he became the PM.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, let's do something for him. And why I always mention, because it's only because he followed, I thought, let me write a book on him, and I was going through that low phase. So I started reading on him then, because I'm not a very history person.
Sure.
So started reading on him, and that's how my 4th book, 9, which is on him. That was one of my big, bulb-ons. And also that you need a mentor to sail through why you have to go through all that valley, जो कि मैं जाके आ चुकी थी एक बार. So I thought this time I'm not going to go through that valley again.
Right.
And I would want to skip it through a mentor.
Right.
So I started then looking for mentors. Running के लिए mentor मिल गए. So that time also never thought that I'm going to do a book coaching and all.
Right, right.
So started writing books, and very organically people started coming and asking me, how are you doing this? Book club in Mumbai asked, can you come and take a session on how do you do this? Parents of children around, like my daughter was going to school, so they were seeing my journey. They're like, why don't you teach our kids? That's how very organically it started, the coaching thing. And 2018 onwards is when I started teaching, writing, publishing.
Got it. So then, and then like then how did you know that you had to keep writing books from then on? Like after the autobiography for Yogi, and how did you know that, let me just continue to write books instead of experimenting with, let's say, another startup?
So when you enjoy anything, would you want to do it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you go for a run, you get that high.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you come back, you're like, okay, I want to experience that high again. And it just, you go on doing it again because you really enjoy it, you love it. So one is writing, which is where I get a different sense of high. And then at other places when you're helping people and their books are getting published and you still feel that high, okay, apne students ki books publish ho gayi hai. So that's a different sense of high.
And then you found digital coaching, and then that whole journey happened. Where have you arrived so far? What's the scale of your community? How many students have learned from you?
So over, I think more than few lakhs people have already attended. I mean,
few lakhs have attended what?
Attended the free
webinars,
the free sessions that we do. Yes, and more than 4,000 people have joined in. More than thousands. Each one of them publishing like 5 books, 10 books. I have one who's done more than 40 books, and just last week, we had a call and one person has done 150 books, a doctor. So 150 books, yes. So that way, we've touched many lives and thousands of books got self-published. These people all self-published.
So yeah, and now you're a full. Is this the thing that you do full time? Is it coaching that you do?
Full time, yes.
Okay, full time. You're coaching people now, and you have a significant scale of people that you've impacted by virtue of, and you've said that thousands of books.
Thousands of books, yes.
So I think it's been a like a roller coaster. So the 9-year-old, the 9th standard Sweta, who had written that first poetry book, did you ever think that you'd be authoring or teaching people how to author?
That's what I'm saying. Never ever would I have thought that I would do this full time. Of course, I wanted to write a book then as well, but full time, kabhi nahi socha tha. But now I want to connect the dot.
Yeah, please connect the dots. Yeah.
So throughout my school, I wanted to do something for the country. Okay, कि India के लिए कुछ करना है, IAS officer बनना है, या कुछ some position in the government कि कुछ करके दिखाएंगे. इसलिए engineering join किया because wanted to do UPSC.
Right.
And then got into this कि चलो अभी एक stable job ले लेते हैं और फिर वहाँ से prepare कर लेंगे UPSC, but वो कभी हुआ ही नहीं. And then 2021, 22, we want to rename our academy. It was initially Best-Selling Authors Hub.
Okay.
Then, now Sids doesn't know all of this. He also doesn't know कि I come from a family of freedom fighters. He doesn't know कि ये मुझे करना था India के लिए. And he suggests, let's rename it to India Authors Academy. And boom, I was like, okay, it gels with what I really wanted to do throughout. कि इंडिया के लिए कुछ करना था, इसीलिए जॉब में भी मज़ा नहीं आ रहा था, कुछ ना कुछ करना था. So then I was like, okay, let's make India the author capital of the world. Let's bring back the glory of Nalanda. Let's reinstate that library of 1 million books. And that's how it all came out. And now we are, full force going towards, with that mission.
All right. No, awesome. I think this has been such an interesting turn of events by virtue of your initial interest in writing and reading, and then chasing the dream that the world sells to you, which is of course escaping your existing reality and trying to find and chase, of course in the corporate world, and then not able to find fulfillment within it, and then rediscovering yourself and going through that journey. So thank you for sharing.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No, that's amazing. Who would like to go next?
I can go. जैसे देख रही है ना वैसे करके
वो देख रही है तो रविंदर बोला पहले मैं ही चला जाता.
Also, I feel like I'm very curious to hear what he has to say because I've read his work while I was growing up. This is not to make you feel old at all. I know I say
I
it.
feel super sexy about the fact.
No, wait. So I'm actually, and we've never had this conversation.
Yes, we never.
But I'm so curious. You're one of the writers I read, as I was beginning to read a lot of books,
yes.
and in like my very teenage years, almost like my introduction to what like romance novels and the whole world is. I'm very curious. I want to hear you before I talk. Yeah.
Okay, so where do we start from? How the first book happened, or
no,
how did
much before
after
that.
I happened?
So Ravinder, we'd love to know from ground up in terms of to begin with how your early childhood was, and what got you interested in writing altogether. I know you were not interested in books or any of that sort. But if you can give me a run through and give us a run through of exactly who the young Ravinder was in school, in college. Were you goofy? Were you studious? Yeah, over to you.
Okay.
The storyteller.
Okay. अब मेरी बहुत सारी कहानी. I write in English, but I love to talk in Hindi. So a lot of it will be in Hindi.
बिल्कुल.
लोग पूछते हैं ना कि तुम कहाँ से हो, तो मैं बिल्कुल खिचड़ी हूँ.
अच्छा.
I come from a Sikh family, was born in Calcutta, brought up in Odisha, and I was there in Odisha for 26 years of my life, the first 26 years of my life. I grew up in a very small town called Burla, जो उस वक्त उड़ीसा के मैप पे भी नहीं एग्जिस्ट करता था.
अच्छा.
So I had to explain to people where Burla is, and I will tell. Have you ever heard of Hirakud Dam? At one point in time, it was the longest dam on this planet. Now it is in India. It's Hirakud Dam. जवाहरलाल नेहरू went there उसकी ओपनिंग के टाइम पे. तो वहाँ से एक हीरा निकला था. इसके नाम से हीराकुद. It's on the river Mahanadi. The length of this dam is 4.8 kilometers. So 5 किलोमीटर लंबा डैम है. तो लोगों को वो पता था उस टाइम पे भी. ठीक है. Not judging your knowledge.
That's great. मैं यहाँ 5 किलोमीटर लिखा हूँ. I don't know why I wrote that 5 kilometers.
So Hirakud Dam on the river Mahanadi. उसकी बत्तियाँ मेरे घर से दिखती थी. तो जब शाम होता था ना, तो एक छोटे शहर में पलने का मतलब है कि वहाँ पे एक सायरन बजता है 2 बजे और पूरे टाउन को पता चलता है कि ये एक लंच आवर हो गया है. तो जितनी लेबर काम करती है, स्कूल जाने वाले लोग, सब अपना दुकान का शटर भी डाल देते हैं वहाँ पे. इट्स अ लेड बैक टाउन. इफ यू गो देयर, स्कूल खत्म होने के बाद मुझे एक स्पंज बॉल, एक रेड कलर की बॉल खरीदते हम, वो लेने गया था. इंस्टेड कि 4 बजे आना, अभी सोने का टाइम हो गया. द टाउन इवन स्लीप्स एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम कि दोपहर हो गई है, हम सोने जा रहे हैं, एंड वी विल अगेन रीओपन 5 o'clock. So I went to schools and picked Odia first as a language.
Okay.
Though I come from a Sikh family, और मेरे घर पे पंजाबी पढ़ाई जाती थी.
अच्छा.
बचपन मेरा गुरुद्वारे में बीता. My dad is a priest in a गुरुद्वारा.
अच्छा.
तो मेरे बड़े सारे शौक थे. किताबों से मैं
भागता था क्या?
थे ही नहीं वहाँ पे. That place still doesn't have a bookstore.
और जब आप लेने जाते थे 4 बजे तब बंद रहता था.
वो बंद होती थी. वो किताबों की शॉप्स ही नहीं थी. The only लेना देना was school books, and my only wish was कि मुझे ना नई किताबें खरीदनी है when the curriculum starts. Unfortunately, I come from a very poor family, very humble family. तो मुझे स्कूल की किताबें भी ऐसा हुआ कि I was very studious. I topped in my class 12th. Again, PCM story when I was listening to her. कि मेरे ऐसे थे, which is why I got the free seat, computer seat in an engineering college. तो ऐसा हुआ.
Oh, nice.
And I felt कि यार मुझे ना लाइफ में नई किताबें चाहिए. और मेरे पेरेंट्स वो दे नहीं पाते थे. एंड स्कूल का एक पर्टिकुलर था कि CBSE की किताबें महंगी आएंगी. So what used to happen? I used to score well. Again, दूसरी क्लास में आ गए. तो उस गुरुद्वारे में जो आते थे लोग, उनके बच्चे जो मुझसे 1 साल आगे थे, उनके पेरेंट्स मेरे पेरेंट्स को उनकी किताबें दे देते थे. कि अच्छा अब आपका बेटा क्लास 5 से 6 में आ गया, मेरा बेटा 6 से 7 में चला गया, उसकी किताब ले लो. आई हेटेड द फैक्ट. और वो जो स्कूल शुरू होता है ना, फिर एक समर वेकेशन बीच में आती है, उस टाइम आप नई बुक्स लेके आते हो. एंड आई यूज्ड टू रीड हिंदी की स्टोरीज उसमें. बाल भारती, किशोर भारती, ये उस टाइम की किताबें हैं CBSE। मुझे ना कहानियां पढ़ना अच्छा लगता था कि हिंदी वाली आई विल रीड दैम, बट द फन मोमेंट वाज गॉन क्योंकि उस पे अंडरलाइन किया हुआ है, उसमें उस लड़के ने अपने वो कुछ नोट्स डाले हुए, स्क्रिबल किए हुए हैं। आई ऑलवेज फेल्ट दिस इज नॉट माई बुक। क्लास 8 के एग्जाम से पहले तो रिचुअल था, एग्जाम देने के लिए जाना है, उससे पहले मम्मी वो दही शक्कर देगी एंड देन आई विल गो टू गुरुद्वारा एंड देन प्रे कि बाबा जी अच्छे से करा देना। दिस टाइम आई स्टार्टेड प्रेइंग मिक्की शुड नॉट पास क्योंकि उसकी किताबें मुझे मिलती थी। आई सो वांटेड उसको, मैं तो पास हो जाऊंगा, उससे नहीं पास कराना क्योंकि मुझे नई किताबें चाहिए। तो दिस वॉज माई चाइल्डहुड। आई वॉन्टेड टू लर्न गिटार, बट क्योंकि मैं गुरुद्वारे में था, मेरे डैड ने मुझे तबला सिखवाया, मेरे भाई को हारमोनियम सिखवाया, एंड हमारा संडे वॉज रूइंड। बाकी लोग क्रिकेट खेलने जा रहे हैं, मैं और मेरा भाई गुरुद्वारे में कीर्तन कर रहे होते थे।
अच्छा।
द फन फैक्ट वॉज I was always surrounded with women क्योंकि women are more religious gender that way.
Interesting.
तो मैं उनके साथ लेडी संगीत में भी, क्योंकि मैं तबला बजा रहा हूँ like literally मैं गुरुद्वारे में जितने कीर्तन हो रहे हैं ना कि अच्छा मेरे घर का नाम रिंकू है और मेरे भाई का नाम टिंकू है, अच्छा रिंकू टिंकू को बुला लो, तो वो हम कीर्तन कर रहे हैं। तो आई विल बी सराउंडेड बाई women, not my age but elderly women, but I was so into the idea of observing them कि उनके लिए क्या values है, what God means to them, if they are not in Gurudwara, what are their other responsibilities, घर जाना, बच्चों को तैयार करके भेजना, all of that became a very part of my life. So I started observing a lot. Schooling happened, 11th, 12th, अच्छे नंबर आ गए, went to do my engineering down south. All my education was down south. MBA happened much later. 2003 में मैंने अपनी engineering खत्म कर ली.
You were studious as a kid, and were you also looking to kind of move out of that city and go to maybe a tier 2, tier 1
No,
city?
I had no idea.
अच्छा,
I had no idea.
नहीं पता था कि क्या करना है.
उस छोटे से कस्बे के लोग आज भी उस कस्बे में ही है, मतलब हम एक कुएं में थे जहां हमें बाहर की दुनिया का पता भी नहीं है। एंड दिस इज द टाइम वेयर इंटरनेट हैज नॉट पेनिट्रेटेड। 95 में इंटरनेट आया था, 99 में लोग याहू अकाउंट बना रहे थे। एंड व्हेन आई जॉइंड, व्हेन आई केम टू कर्नाटका, तो वो उस बुरला से निकल के जब मैं कर्नाटका आया, एंड सडनली आई वाज एक्सपोज्ड टू किड्स फ्रॉम दिल्ली, बैंगलोर, मुंबई। बैंगलोर वाले तो लड़ाई भी इंग्लिश में कर रहे थे, मैं तो समझ नहीं पा रहा था कि एक सेकेंड गाइस मैं तो लड़ नहीं पाऊंगा, तो मैं समझ लेता हूँ कि तुम वर्ड्स क्या बोल रहे हो। तो मेरे लिए वो डिफरेंट दुनिया थी। मतलब मुझे इतना एक्सपोजर वहां पे मिला कि शुरू के 1-2 साल मैं सहमा हुआ था कि यार ये जहाँ मेरी सोच जहाँ खत्म होती है, यहाँ इनकी शुरू होती है। इनके शौक, ये वो ब्रांड्स के बारे में बात करते थे कि भैया हम तो दिल्ली गेट पे जाके रात को वो निरुलास की आइसक्रीम, ऐसे व्हाट, मैं तो क्वालिटी आइसक्रीम खाता हूँ, ये तुम कौन कौन सी एग्जॉटिक, उस टाइम पे ये सारी चीजें हुआ करती थी। आई न्यू ऑफ 2 शू ब्रांड्स जो मैं चाहता था, जो मुझे नहीं मिले उस वक्त स्कूल में। एक्शन एंड लखानी, दे वर माय लाइक पीक। जिस दिन मैं एक्शन के जूते पहनूंगा ना, माय डैड सेड आई डोंट हैव मनी, तो स्कूल के जो जूते आए वही निकालो। वही मैं पार्टीज में भी पहन के जाता था लोगों की, और वही मैं सुबह प्रेयर में भी पहन के चले जाता था। सो व्हेन आई वेंट टू कॉलेज, आई गॉट टू नो ओ देयर इज अ ब्रांड कॉल्ड नाइक, एंड देन से कि इसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन नाइकी है। अच्छा, ओके, देयर इज रीबॉक। ये कौन सी दुनिया है भैया, ये हम एक अलग दुनिया से निकल रहे थे।
हम एक्शन और लखानी देख
हम एक्शन और लखानी के थे। तो हम बहुत डाउन मार्केट थे उनके लिए। स्कूल में मुझे किसी ने बता दिया था, क्लास 8 में वैलेंटाइंस डे नाम की एक चीज होती है।
क्या बात है।
तब से मुझे प्यार में पड़ना था। ये तब हुआ जब बुरला जैसे छोटे से शहर में एक मेडिकल कॉलेज है। उस वक्त से 3 मेडिकल कॉलेज थे उड़ीसा में। उस मेडिकल कॉलेज में 6 बजे के बाद बॉयज हॉस्टल से लड़के और गर्ल्स हॉस्टल से लड़कियां शाम को बाहर आएंगे। रोड साइड पे चाउमीन और सूप का स्टॉल होगा, और वहां सामने फाइबर के चेयर और टेबल रखे होंगे। दे विल हैव चाउमीन एंड सूप, और ये बताता है कि वो कपल है। एक दिन उस टेबल के ऊपर मोमबत्तियां जल रही थी।
अच्छा,
मैंने कहा भाई ये क्या हो रहा है आज? दिवाली को तो बहुत टाइम है। तुझे नहीं पता आज वैलेंटाइंस डे है? व्हाट इज वैलेंटाइंस डे? अरे ये कपल्स वाला डे होता है। अच्छा, बड़ा खूबसूरत कॉन्सेप्ट है, मुझे पढ़ना है प्यार में, बट वो अकेले तो पढ़ नहीं सकते आप, यू हैव टू वेट। वो प्यार होते होते को 26 साल हो चुके थे। आई फर्स्ट थॉट मुझे स्कूल में पढ़ना है, फिर किसने कहा यार स्कूल में तो यूनिफॉर्म पहनते हैं, एंड 90s का स्कूल वाज डिफरेंट देन टुडेस का स्कूल। आज तो बच्चे अलग अलग लेवल पे कांड कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, प्यार में पढ़ रहे हैं, एप्स में भी आ रहे हैं, दैट वाज अ होल डिफरेंट चैप्टर। आई थॉट कि चलो जब तक यूनिफॉर्म पहनते हैं तब तक प्यार नहीं होगा, और उस टाइम की मूवीज में दिखाया जाता था कॉलेज में प्यार होता है। आमिर खान की मूवीज में था कॉलेज में प्यार होगा,
जो जीता वही सिकंदर,
सब में कॉलेज में प्यार होता है। आज तो स्कूल में प्यार, आज तो हम जल्दी प्यूबर्टी जल्दी हिट हो रही है, सब कुछ जल्दी हो रहा है, कॉलेज में प्यार होगा। एंड आई वेंट टू इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज, मुझे लगा बेस्ट सीट लेनी है, बेस्ट लड़कियां उस बेस्ट सीट पे आएंगी कंप्यूटर्स वाली। वेंट टू दिस कॉलेज, फिगर्ड आउट देयर आर 80 men 10 women in my engineering college.
हे भगवान,
मैंने कहा odds are against me, यहाँ पे भी नहीं होगा। Somehow the whole college thing happened, and I knew that my priorities should now be making money first, क्योंकि दुनिया कहाँ पहुँची हुई है, and where am I, like, and this was in north of Karnataka, place called Bidar. Okay. That's where a Sikh minority college used to be there. It's no more Sikh minority right now. So, and there also I got free seat, and with a consideration that it comes from a very humble family, और इसने CBSE में अपने स्कूल में टॉप किया है, so वो होनहार है, हमको इसको देना चाहिए पुश, so I landed up there. But of course the college wasn't of that stature जहाँ पे कि कंपनीज आएंगी लेने के लिए बच्चों को, so there was zero companies who would come up, and I knew that the game is going to be tough. I'm now out in the market applying for jobs.
But I'd like to pause you here and go a little rewind. So in school, were you a confident boy before?
I was.
You were a confident?
I was. क्योंकि मैं उस कुएं में तो super confident था.
Super confident. ये कुआं मेरा हिराकू डैम सब जानेंगे.
I was a sucker for fame. मुझे स्टेज पे रहना, मुझे तालियां सुननी, मुझे लोग चाहिए, मुझे ऑडियंस चाहिए. I was good in studies, बट मुझे स्टेज वाले इवेंट करने हैं। तो अगर मुझे स्टेज पे कह रहा है कि अच्छा तबला बजाना, मैं बजाऊंगा ना यार, मैं बजाऊंगा, मैं आ जाता था वहां पे। आई ऑलवेज लुक फॉरवर्ड टू एनुअल फंक्शंस। somehow I love the element कि यार लोग मुझे सुन रहे हो, बस जैसे अभी तुम सुन रहे हो, अभी कुछ सुन रहे हो, बड़ा मजा आ रहा है आज भी।
बस बोलते रहो आप।
मुझे ही चाहिए था, मुझे एक महफिल चाहिए थी हमेशा,
बिल्कुल
बातें करता रहो। So yeah, I was a very confident.
And was English your first language?
No.
English was your second language.
English was my second language. जो English मैंने अपने schools में सीखी थी, it was good enough for that कुआं। उसी इंग्लिश की वजह से मुझे बाहर आके शुरू के सालों में बड़ी एम्बैरेसमेंट भी होती थी। जब मैंने कहा ना, जब व्हेन आई हैपन टू सी, आई थिंक दिस इज वन रीजन आई एंजॉय टॉकिंग इन हिंदी लॉट मोर, क्योंकि वो मेरे सबकॉन्शियस में रह गया है कि मैं आज भी बोलते बोलते इतना बह जाऊंगा कि मैं गलत प्रोनाउंसिएशन कर रहा हूँ। प्रोनाउंसिएशन को प्रोनाउंसिएशन से प्रोनाउंसिएशन बनाने में मेरे आधी जिंदगी निकल गई थी, बिकॉज यही उस स्कूल में पढ़ाया गया था। मैडम कहती थी PRONOUNCI प्रोनाउंसिएशन, तो पूरी क्लास प्रोनाउंसिएशन बोलती थी, रट लिया, वो अब मेरे DNA में घुस चुका था। आई एम समबडी हु ऑलवेज फील दैट अच्छा ये मुझे नहीं आता और इसकी वजह से मुझे पीछे देखा जा रहा है, अब मैं इसको सीखूंगा, इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ लॉन्ग एक्सरसाइज, मैं करूंगा ये। वो उस तरह से हिट करती है मुझे कुछ चीजें। इट इज सेल्डम अ डाउनर, इट ऑलवेज मोटिवेट्स मी कि अच्छा ये करना, अब मैं करूंगा यार, और मैं बताऊंगा नहीं, मैं साइलेंटली कर रहा हूँ, एक दिन आके मैंने कर दिया भाई वैसे वाला धप्पा। आई लर्न अ लॉट। इट्स लेस अबाउट इवन द लैंग्वेज, इट्स हाउ यू डील विद दैट लैंग्वेज, हाउ यू इवन योर पोस्चर, योर बिहेवियर पैटर्न, सो मच दैट आई लर्न while I was away, and I think I cannot emphasize this enough. मुझे लगता है कि हर इंसान को ना हॉस्टल की लाइफ एक बार जीनी चाहिए। I learned lot more from the hostel, from that hostel versus that college. कॉलेज में टीचर्स पढ़ा रहे हैं, बट हॉस्टल में जिंदगी आपको सिखा रही है। यू आर डीलिंग विद पीपल, अलग लेवल पे पॉलिटिक्स चल रही है, थोड़े से पैसे बचे हुए हैं, घर जाना है नहीं जाना है, ट्रेन के पैसे, ओ गॉड कंप्यूटर लेना है नहीं लेना है। And I was always open to the idea कि I have to become a better version of me. I have to become a better version of me. It kept going on, and I fared well. I fared well. That's how I look at myself.
Then what else happened in college?
So college was pretty good. 3rd, 4th years निकल गए. समझ में आ गया कि यहाँ पे कोई placement की company नहीं आएगी. We'll have
placement और नहीं होने वाली है यहाँ पे.
Yeah. So I came back to Bhubaneswar. This time why Bhubaneswar? Because I felt I don't have a job. I don't want to see my family unless and until I have a job first. So I was willing to do what not. In fact, Hyderabad पे नया airport आ रहा था. And there was this ad in the newspaper which said we are looking for people who can sell these plots. So we are looking for sales agents. And उसमें salary लिखी हुई थी 10,000 rupees, but you have to have a 2-wheeler of yourself. ये criteria था. And I'm like कि कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है, इसका एक interview दे के आ जाता हूँ. So बिदर से Hyderabad back then was 4 hours, now it's 2 hours. The roads are pretty good. So I went there, I got that thing. I told my parents that I now have a job, and they said क्या किस चीज़ की जॉब है? I said कुछ नया एयरपोर्ट आ रहा है, उसकी कुछ प्लॉट की सेल्स की टीम बनानी है. They are doing that. तो my dad said तू कंप्यूटर इंजीनियरिंग करने गया था तो भी प्लॉट सेल करेगा? I could not tell him that this particular college didn't have the kind of companies that I want.
Right.
And till that happens, I want to earn my living and not be dependent on you. That was it was bothering me. कि मैं अब अपने बाप से पैसे नहीं दे सकता. ठीक है, उन्होंने जो करना था वो कर दिया है. So I joined IMS, and I was good at this. Aptitude was something which I enjoyed solving. Quants तो difficult था, but aptitude and English ये 3 चीजें थी. This is the time I also filled up form for defense services. तो naval के आ रहे थे, air force. मैं तीनों जगह जाके एग्जाम्स दे के आया था और तीनों जगह से मुझे आ गया था कि आप वो जो SSB होती है 5 दिन की, उसके लिए आप आ सकते हो. आई सेड वाओ, तीनों जगह से आ गया. इस दौरान मैंने एक और का एग्जाम दे दिया था. इन्फोसिस हैड रोल्ड आउट एन इंटरव्यू अ टेस्ट. सो दिस इज द टाइम where TCS and Infosys were taking all India placements. You have to go to a center, give exams. Hundreds of students will go. तो मेरा सेंटर आया था कैलकाटा. I took a train. I went to Calcutta. There was this school where I said 200 तो हम भुवनेश्वर से आए हैं, बिहार, पटना, अलग अलग जगह से thousands of people. हम इन्फोसिस का एग्जाम देने के लिए आए हैं. So we sat in some college और उन्होंने दिया एग्जाम का पेपर. There were this aptitude questions उसमें आए थे. उसमें कोई tech C, nothing was that sort. I said this is fun.
Logical reasoning.
Logical reasoning.
Got it.
मैंने वो कर लिया सारा. अब मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ, आसपास देख रहा हूँ, मुझे कौन सा पेपर नहीं मिल रहा है जो ये लोग सॉल्व कर रहे हैं और जो मैं जल्दी कर चुका हूँ. कुछ तो मिसिंग है. क्या इसमें ये गेम कुछ रिवर्स साइकोलॉजी की तो नहीं है जो मैं बेवकूफों की तरह करके बैठा हूँ. Turned out what I did was right, and I scored pretty well. And this is also the time, because Infosys was doing mass hiring back then, there never was an interview round. It was aptitude, it was your English as language, and they will pick the top league. मतलब अगर 1000 आया तो उसमें से वो 50 लेंगे, बाकी 950 को रिजेक्ट कर देंगे. And I made it to that. So when I got the calls for SSB और यहाँ से वहाँ सब जगह से आ गया था, I said सिंपल, मुझे कोई पेट्रियोटिक चीज नहीं करनी थी. मुझे पैसे कौन ज्यादा दे रहा है, क्योंकि मेरी हालत वो डिमांड कर रही थी. I said Infosys is paying good money. Done है. मैं दोपहर को एक साइबर कैफे में बैठा हुआ था when the subject line of that Yahoo email, उस टाइम पे Yahoo mail boxes थे, was congratulations, welcome to Infosys. I said wow, ये वो पल था मेरी जिंदगी का जहां मैं शिफ्ट कर रहा था गरीबी रेखा से नॉट सो गरीब रेखा में. आई फेल्ट कि 17,335, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर दैट फिगर. ये मेरी पहली सैलरी थी, विच वॉज 3 times more than the salary of my dad on day 1 of my job. तो मैं बहुत ही मतलब ऐसा था कि दिस इज द मोमेंट, अब घर में पैसे आएंगे. एंड आई केम टू पुणे हिंजवाड़ी. That's where my first 2 months of training for Infosys was. तो मैंने लाइफ की पहली 2 टाई खरीदी, क्योंकि उन्होंने मंडे ट्यूसडे टाई का कॉन्सेप्ट था. आई वेंट टू अ ठेले वाला फुटपाथ, यह सस्ती टाई है, चलो पहुंच के. मुझे याद है मैं बिस्तर बंद और ट्रंक लेके आया था और मैं पुणे ट्रेन से आया था. एंड आई गॉट डाउन, वेंट टू दिस होटल. लाइफ में पहली बार मैं एक होटल में रुका था, क्योंकि दे मेड मी स्टे एट ए होटल फॉर 7 days. And I was telling my mom कि मैं होटल में पहुंच गया, टाई बांध रहा हूँ. That was the era of 2003. So 17 November 2003 is when I got into my job, and getting into Infosys was see, अगर आप बड़े शहरों में रहे हो ना, फिर आप शायद चीज़ों को उस नज़रिए से नहीं देखते. एक छोटे शहर के लड़के को Infosys का हिंजेवाड़ी बहुत लाइक ये ताजमहल से ज़्यादा खूबसूरत है. And you have to see Infosys campuses for that. I've worked in Microsoft also. My last job was as a senior program manager at Microsoft. We'll come to that story. But I still feel that Infosys have a damn better complex corporate offices than any other company in India. And I started with Infosys. So that was a life-changing moment that happened for me.
That was one of the first inflection points in your life that really kind of moved you. And so, okay, Infosys, you got in. What happened next?
So life started rolling. Right. After I finished my training at Infosys, I was the only North Indian looking guy who chose Bhubaneswar campus as the placement finally. Otherwise, even the Odia people from Odisha wanted to go to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. I was the only one who wanted to come back to Odisha. So imagine a Sikh guy wanting to come here. So people would be like, oh, तुझे मोहाली नहीं मिला? मोहाली में क्या मिलता? They were like sad because Mohali was in demand. Infosys for decades didn't have a North India presence, and every North Indian wanted कि यार मुझे चंडीगढ़ मिल जाए. तो they felt, अरे तुझे चंडीगढ़ नहीं मिला? I said, मुझे उड़ीसा चाहिए था, भुवनेश्वर. So I came to भुवनेश्वर. भुवनेश्वर में आके मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? वही एनुअल फंक्शन. मैं इवेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहा हूँ. For first year I had a great time. I started working for a client. Couple of months later, I was on bench for a while. Did so many events at Infosys to an extent that even the DC head, the development center head, से लेके वो जो gatekeeper था, they all knew me. So there were 2,000 people, and I was still the hero of Infosys. यार ये लड़का है ना. मतलब चलते हम जो चाहिए था. मुझे अप्रेजल नहीं चाहिए थी. मुझे कि हो गया. मुझे ये सारी चीजें करनी है. And I was in awe. And back then, if you are in Bhubaneswar, and if you are working for Infosys, suddenly, oh, तो मैं तो जो पट्टा है वो पहन के घूमता था बाहर. आफ्टर आवर्स भी पेट्रोल बनाने जा रहा है, मैं इन्फोसिस में काम करता. तो आई वाज इन अ हाई ऑफ लिविंग दैट लाइफ.
Makes sense.
It was a big deal back then, and the entire town had some discounts going on for Infosys people. It was written that way.
Wow.
तो हम celebrate होते थे वहाँ पे. It was very Odisha for a long time has been a very poor state, and this company was a big shot of that particular state. यहाँ एक opportunity आई कि client says you have to come to Belgium.
Okay.
I said, अरे बेटा ये तो अलग शिफ्ट हो रहा है. बेल्जियम मैंने दिल्ली नहीं देखा था. मेरी स्टोरी मेरे दोस्त ने कही तेरी स्टोरी होनी चाहिए बल्ले बल्ले बुरला टू बेल्जियम. I came to Delhi to apply for the visa of Belgium.
Wow.
That was the reason I was in Chanakyapuri. कि मैं वीजा अप्लाई करने के लिए जाऊँ. I was good at what I was doing. The client called me and I landed up in Belgium and I said, wow, this is amazing. And suddenly I'm no more earning INR, I'm earning euros now. And euros, like, अरे वाह, वो जो पहली कमाई थी यहाँ तो यार 2 दिन में बन रही है वो तो. I was like, this is pretty good.
So you moved to Belgium?
I moved to Belgium. It was my on-site.
Oh wow.
The client wanted me कि आप यहाँ पे काम करो.
What was the language in Belgium?
So French and Dutch. Brussels was French part, but the Antwerp part was a Dutch part. So
And
there are
how
2
old
languages.
were you at this age?
I was 25.
Oh, that is so cool.
I was 25.
What year is this?
ये हो गया 2005-6 की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. 2003 I graduated. 2003 November 17 I joined Infosys. Came to Bhubaneswar और 2 साल के अंदर ये आ गया कि आपको बेल्जियम जाना है. So I went there. I said this is great. Mom, Dad pretty happy. अब अकाउंट में पैसे आ जाते हैं. जब आप पैसे आ जाते हैं ना फिर आप सोचते हैं अब लाइफ में करना क्या है वाली बात आती है. व्हाट यू वाज सेइंग कि अब क्या करना है. और मुझे रोमांस करना था, मुझे प्यार में पड़ना था. वो जो बचपन में जो 14 फेब
का बताया था, अरे मोमबत्ती क्यों जला दी है.
और एक चीज और थी कि घर से प्रेशर भी आने लगा था. अब तो लड़का जवान हो गया, पैसे कमा रहा, अब तो आप तो कहाँ से कहाँ चले गए. तो वो शहर में अब होगा था, अच्छा वो जो गुरुद्वारे के ग्रंथी थे उनका लड़का इतना बड़ा हो गया है. तो अच्छा वो 1-2 जो मैं हमारी फैमिली में थे वो कह रहे थे ये बाहर गया कैसे, हमें बताओ. ऐसे पढ़ के गया, ऐसे कबूतरबाजी से नहीं गया.
बाहर कैसे गया हमें भी बता दो ये रास्ता.
तो आई वाज देयर. आई फेल्ट कि यार हाँ अब टाइम आ गया, प्यार में पढ़ना है. तो बट मुझे था कि आई एम
टाइम आ गया प्यार में पड़ा।
हाँ, इट वाज दैट फीलिंग कि अब ना ये जो पैसे ये खर्च भी तो करने कहीं पे, एंड आई वाज वेरी श्योर कि नो मैटर वेयर आई लिव आई वांट नॉट ओनली इंडियन, मुझे पंजाबी लड़की चाहिए। वो मेरे दिमाग में फिक्सेटेड है। एंड आई थॉट यार ये यहाँ पे बैठे तो बड़ा मुश्किल होगा, इसके लिए कुछ अलग करना पड़ेगा। तो मैंने बेल्जियम में संडे को गुरुद्वारे जाना शुरू कर दिया।
होम ग्राउंड ये पार्टी का बेटा।
क्योंकि मैं गुरुद्वारे में मेरा बचपन बीता था, मैं उस गुरुद्वारे के माहौल से, और गुरुद्वारे में आंटियों के में सराउंडेड था। तो वो मुल्ले की दौड़ मस्जिद तक, तो मेरी दौड़ गुरुद्वारे तक।
डिसीजन मेकिंग काफी सही।
So I was there, I was in Gurudwara. That's where I figured out that so many people over there were struggling with language. A lot of Punjabi men had gone abroad, married the local women, of course, for so many reasons. One of the reasons was ki citizenship, and they had kids. Now the kids are finding it difficult to learn the language. Some of either they will speak Dutch or French. और वहाँ पे उन्होंने रिटर्न में एक नोटिस लगाया हुआ था that we are looking for a Punjabi tutor who can come. I said I'll teach. I started teaching kids.
My God, what a great story.
और मेरे पास बेल्जियम में कुछ करने को भी नहीं था, मैं अय्याश किस्म का इंसान था नहीं कि मैं कुछ हो करने को, and I was the only person. Other Infosys guy, I was a tester, he was a developer. He lived with his wife in Brussels. I lived alone in Mechelen. Mechelen is towards the Antwerp.
Okay.
और मुझे दिन पास करना था, तो मैंने कहा यार गुरुद्वारे जाते हैं। द बेस्ट पार्ट वाज कि वहाँ से मैं लंगर पैक करके लेके आता था, जो कि वेंसडे तक चलता था। तो मेरी वरी थी वेंसडे से लेके संडे तक के लिए क्या बनाना है। आई लर्न टू कुक ऑन माई ओन ओवर देयर, माई मॉम, एंड दिस इज द टाइम देयर इज नो यूट्यूब। मेरी मॉम ने मेरे भाई को डिक्टेट किया वर्ड डॉक्यूमेंट में कि राजमा चने भिगो के रखने हैं, मसाला कैसे बनाना है, किन सब्जियों में प्याज डालना है, एंड he wrote it down on the word pad, put it on a floppy, rode his bicycle to a cyber hub place, और वहां पे जाके उसने मुझे ईमेल भेजा कि मम्मी ने ये भेजा है। So that used to be the time. Towards 8 months, 10 months down the line, the same client said, we have another opportunity in the US. Can you please come? So I never got back to India from Belgium. For the same night, I now went to US. I said कि यार ऐसे करते करते ना मेरा वो पंजाबी लड़की वाला सपना मर जाएगा। So I did what most parents do in this country. I went to shaadi.com.
Nice.
I made my profile.
Amazing.
मैंने डाल दिया उसके बाद आके, मैंने कहा ये तरीका है पंजाबी लड़की ढूंढने का। It started that way. और जैसा होता है हिंदुस्तान में लड़कों के साथ जो आज डेटिंग ऐप पे हो रहा है कि there is कि हम स्वाइप बैक के लिए वेट करते करते मर जाते हैं, मेरे साथ उस एरा में ऐसा हो रहा था। एंड आई गिव अप ऑन द वेरी आइडिया टू एन एक्सटेंट कि जहां मुझे 3 लड़कियों ने एक्सेप्ट किया, मैंने जानबूझ के उनको रिजेक्ट किया था कि मेरी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट बढ़े कि मैं भी रिजेक्ट कर सकता हूं। आई प्लेड दैट थिंग, एंड ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम बीच बीच में मैं इंडिया आया, वापस गया, यूएस गया, एंड फॉर्चुनेटली वन डे गुड थिंग्स हैपेंड. I landed up swiping right. There was no swipe left right, but I'm just using that vocabulary. I swiped right and figured out कि मुझसे पहले ही उसने मुझ पे swipe किया था, तो अब मेरी जो self respect थोड़ी और बढ़ गई. अच्छा, I wasn't the first person to swipe right on her. She had done this. I only accepted this without knowing that thing. We started talking. This is also the time where I moved to Bhubaneswar. Now I am 26 years young, and she was in Faridabad. Now it became a long distance love relationship. तो जिंदगी में पहली बार मुझे प्यार होना शुरू हो रहा था और फटाक से हो गया. शायद मैं इतना भरा बैठा था कि मुझे प्यार होना ही है. It happened. It was a courtship period of 8 months, and I think 5th, 6th month is when I was to fly to the US again. And this is not the time where we have met.
You've not met so far.
Not so far. मेरे पास स्मार्टफोन भी नहीं था.
अच्छा.
All that I had seen was her picture on the matrimonial website.
तो कैसे
फोन पे मतलब ऐसा नहीं, वीडियो कॉल्स नहीं हो रही थी उस टाइम पे. It's just that कि हाँ मैंने तुम्हें देख लिया है, तुम ऐसी दिखती हो, we'll talk it out. Mostly SMSs. This is also the time SMS was still paid. ₹1 लगता था एक मैसेज भेजने का, और कुछ एक लिमिटेड स्लॉट था. So I met her. Her name is Khushi. I met her on my ट्रिप टू द यूएस. इस बार मैंने इन्फोसिस को बोला कि सर इस बार जो फ्लाइट आप भुवनेश्वर से मुंबई और मुंबई से करते हो ना, उसकी जगह भुवनेश्वर से दिल्ली और दिल्ली से कर दोगे मिनियापोलिस. एंड देन ही सेड क्यों? आई सेड कर दो ना. एंड ही सेड पता नहीं उसको कैसे पता लगा लड़की का चक्कर है. आई सेड मैंने मेरी स्माइल बड़ी होगी, कहता बोलना मैं समझ गया, मैं कर दूंगा. So I landed up meeting her for the very first time at Delhi airport. She had come to see me and we spent 6-7 hours together before I took my flight abroad. So बचपन में 8th क्लास में सोचा था कि प्यार में पढ़ना है और 26 का मैं हो चुका था. And I experienced the first kiss of my life. And I can, because I write romance, the first kiss of life is like आप ना स्पेस ड्रिफ्ट कर रहे होते हो जीरो ग्रेविटी में, बस वो जा रहे हो, कोई रोकने वाला नहीं हो. आई एक्सपीरियंस दैट व्हेन आई वाज 26. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल रीड माय वर्क when they are 18, 19. She read my work. Yeah. So I'm telling, the reason I'm emphasizing on this is that the very person who is talking about this, whose work is being read by 18, 19, he experienced things at 26 onwards.
I was reading it at 13, by the way.
The plug.
So sometimes it takes the double of the to experience something.
वो चलेगा.
But so I experienced that for the first time and I was like, this is great. On my way back, a month and a half back, I again happened to meet her. We decided that we are in love and I can't wait to marry her. Her parents came all the way from Faridabad to Burla to meet my parents. And we decided कि यार अब तो लड़का लड़की राजी हैं, तो अब कब करनी है engagement शादी. And I picked I said जहाँ मर्जी करनी है, यहाँ करनी है, वहाँ करनी है. But I'm particular about one thing. They said what? I said that engagement date should be 14th of Feb. वो जो Valentine's Day मेरे दिमाग में बैठा हुआ है, वो मोमबत्तियाँ बैठी हुई हैं, मुझे उसी दिन करना है. But fate has something else in it for me. So 9th of February we had taken leaves from her corporate office, my office, and we were supposed to fly to Faridabad. All my friends were supposed to be there. 9th of February, on her way back from office, she used to work in the US shift. She was coming back at 4 a.m. in the morning, and vacation starts from tomorrow. All the proceedings will start. On her way from office, her cab met with an accident. The driver died on spot. एंड हमारा एक रिचुअल था, सुबह 6 बजे उठ के ना, जब वो घर आएगी, वो सोने जा रही होगी, वो मुझे कॉल करेगी और मुझे उठाएगी. दैट डे द कॉल डिडंट कम. सो आई कॉल हर नंबर एंड सडनली हर नंबर ऑन द अदर एंड आई हियर अ मेल वॉइस. माई फर्स्ट इंस्टिंक्ट इज कि कौन है ये, और मैं नींद से उठाऊँ. एंड माई फर्स्ट इंस्टिंक्ट इज तुम्हारा फ़ोन चोरी हो गया शायद, somebody else is speaking. And then I get to know this is a relative of theirs and they are in hospital. I said, why are you in hospital? They said, so and so things happened. And when I heard that, तब तो मैं एकदम नींद से बाहर ही आ गया. I was pitch awake. I said, what happened? How bad is it? They said, we can't say anything. I said, okay. It took me some while to understand the gravity of the situation. Turned out, she landed up into coma. On 14th of February, so the next morning I book a flight. I just get up. मुझे उस रात की कोई फ्लाइट्स मिल नहीं रही थी, बहुत ही लिमिटेड फ्लाइट्स थी भुवनेश्वर से दिल्ली की उस वक्त. So I booked myself in the next day's flight, and my only question to people on the other side was, what happens to our engagement? मतलब क्या situation है? He said, it's a no-brainer, cancel everything, tell people not to come. I said, okay, this is something which is bothering me. I land up in Delhi, go straight to Faridabad, and they are holding me back from going and seeing her.
अच्छा.
They are preparing me कि before you see her, please understand कि ऐसा ऐसा हुआ है. On 14th of February, I found myself outside the ICU door. वो दरवाजे के बीच में गोल सा सर्कल होता है ना, जो ग्लास आप देख सकते हो. I go there and I see her. पहले 2 दिन मुझे देखने को ही नहीं मिला. I see her and I can't recognize her. Her hands are tied. There are these tubes passing by in her mouth, through her neck and everything, and I could not recognize her. what has become of her in that accident. And I was still holding on to the engagement ring in my pocket. When I flew from Bhubaneswar to Faridabad, all I thought, अगर मुझे मोमेंट मिलेगा ना तो मैं वो रिंग एक्सचेंज कर लूँगा, चाहे वो जहाँ पे भी हो. Which is why I was holding it out there in my pocket. I never got to talk to her. On 22nd of February, the doctors pronounced her dead. And now I didn't know what to do with my life. From 9th of February till 22nd of February, all I begged to God was, I had been such a religious person, you know, you have to just save her for me. That didn't happen. So I lost all my faith in God. And that's answering to your question, you know, why you lost faith. All that happened. So this happened, and this time I was with my parents. My mom wasn't in good shape, so I had to come. So 7 days I was there in Faridabad. I came to take care of my mom and told there I will come back. And by the time I was seeing my mom, this news came. So I told my parents that this has happened, and they said, okay, we have to go for the funeral part. The funeral was done. I was still in Bhubaneswar. 3 days later, for the last rites, we went, and I was in the same Gurudwara over there where we were supposed to get married, but now we were there for a whole different reason altogether. Now, when I come back to Infosys Bhubaneswar, people are looking कि अरे रिंग कहाँ गई? तू साले झूठ बोल के गया था, वेकेशन मनाने गया है, तूने शादी के लिए लीव डाल दी. My manager was asking कि 5 दिन की छुट्टियाँ ली थी तूने? And I said, so and so things have happened. Now, I didn't know what to do with my life यहाँ से आगे. For 3 months, I kept crying. तो मेरे तकिए के गिलाफ हर दूसरे दिन धुलते थे because of the stains of my tears on them. 3 महीने ये चलता रहा. And then I thought, यार boss, this is enough. ये तो मैं कुछ ना कुछ खुद को कर लूँगा अगर मैं इससे बाहर नहीं आया. And I felt the grief is so humongous that I want, it will do no justice to me if I, you know, grab 10 people and tell them my story. वो कहते हैं ना कि अब खुशी बांटो तो बढ़ जाती है, दुख बांटो तो कम हो जाता है. मुझे लगता है मेरा दुख इतना बड़ा है ना, मुझे हज़ारों को पकड़ के बांटना. हाउ डू आई डू सो? एंड मुझे याद है एक दोपहर को भुवनेश्वर के उसी घर पे दीवार पे ना कैलेंडर उस टाइम पे हम टांगा करते थे. तो देयर यूज्ड टू बी दिस कैलेंडर जिसमें गुरु नानक देव की फोटो थी. एंड आई एम इन अ मोनोलॉग विद हिम दैट you took her away from me. I'm blaming him. You just wait and watch. I will bring her back in this world in my own way. You know, you cannot decide the end of this love story. I've waited too long for this. Now I will write this. I will write this. I will bring it. So I started writing about her. I felt my love story deserves to be told. It was so pious for me. I was so much in love with the girl who was still not there, but my love for her was there. That I didn't know what else to do, so I started penning it down. कि लिखा मैंने कि ऐसे मिले थे हम, वैसा हुआ था, वैसा हुआ था. It took me a year and a half when my English professor at IMS, I was still pursuing IMS साथ साथ क्योंकि वो Ivy League में जाने का सपना चल रहा था. 3 साल हो गए थे, CAT में नंबर अच्छे नहीं आ रहे थे. IMS was still continuing. So my English professor told me तेरा मन नहीं लग रहा आजकल पढ़ाई में. My IMS professor then asked me that what are you doing these days? I've said I am writing a book. He said, whose book? I said, my book. It's a love story. Whose love story? My love story. अच्छा, you are writing book. तू बड़ा and this is the English professor. तू बहुत लिखने लगा है, classes attend नहीं कर रहा है. He said, how many books have you read till now? I said, I haven't read anything. He said, look at the audacity of this man. He has not read a single book, and you think others are going to read your book. I said, I don't know, I just feel that way. Then he said, कितने पन्ने लिख लिए? I said, 50. He said, लिखना बंद कर, मैं तेरे को एक book recommend कर रहा हूँ. You read that first. So the name of this professor is Frederick Sir. He recommended me Love Story by Eric Sagar. I went, I purchased that book, came back, I read, and on the last few pages of this book, I was crying. I said, I must finish writing my love story. और उसका नाम होगा I too had a love story. That's how the title of my book was coined in that very moment. I went ahead, I finished writing this story, and this is the time wherein I made a transition from Infosys Bhubaneswar to Infosys Chandigarh. Somehow I wanted to go to a whole new place where nobody knew me, nobody knew my story. I changed my entire persona, the way I look. I wanted something very fresh, something to very start, something very new. I finished writing my book. पता है एक ऑथर की जिंदगी में किताब लिखना एक माइलस्टोन होता है, सबसे बड़ा माइलस्टोन होता है टू फाइंड अ पब्लिशर हु इज गोइंग टू पब्लिश यू नाउ.
Okay. And the book came through, and you wrote it down. How long did it take you?
It took me a year to finish writing that book, and another year to find a publisher. Now, because I am somebody who has hardly read any books, who doesn't belong to this world, I have no idea about who the publishers are. So a layman's approach. I went to bookstores, not to buy books to read, to pick. इनकी स्पाइन पे देखता था कौन सा लोगो, अच्छा ये एक पेंगुइन बना हुआ है, एक पेंगुइन लिख लेते हैं, एक पे ये रूपा है, ये वेस्टलैंड, ऐसे पब्लिशर की लिस्ट. Who are the top ones? These are 12 top publishing houses. I started sending them the manuscript and sample chapters, hoping that they will like it and say, रविंदर कब आ रहे हो तुम पब्लिश होने के लिए. ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं. आधों ने मुझे रिजेक्ट कर दिया, and the remaining half didn't even bother to even write a rejection email to me.
So you reached out to them through email?
Through email.
Cold email reach out, you were doing that, and you were sending your blurb, a summary, what were you?
So the funda is you send a sample chapter, 3 sample chapters, and 1 synopsis. Okay. This used to be the norm.
It's like the pilot in a web series.
Correct.
I have a question. How did you know this was the norm?
I read about them on the websites.
Interesting. Okay. So
And
you did like the full research of what to send?
Yes. That much I. But this is also 2007.
Yeah.
Not so many publishers are accepting digital format. So I had to take out printouts and courier them sample chapters. In fact, this is where the very, very interesting story unfolds now. There's only one publishing house who is left on my list to reject me. Everybody else has rejected. I'm so sure कि ये भी reject ही करेंगे. It's been 6 months I'm trying to chase them. I'm reaching out to them. By now the receptionist also knows my voice and she keeps the phone down. अरे ये वही लड़का है. So what I do, one Monday morning I take Shatabdi from Chandigarh to Delhi and land up at their international, so it's a multinational publishing house, at their office. And I say, hi, I'm Ravinder, and she can recognize my face now from my voice. I can recognize her face from her voice. उसने अपना माथा पकड़ लिया, ये यहाँ आ गया. He said तुमने अपॉइंटमेंट ली, and I'm saying आपने अपॉइंटमेंट वाली ईमेल का रिस्पॉन्स ही नहीं दिया मुझे, इसलिए तो मैं यहाँ पे आया हूँ. And there is a ruckus over there, and somebody is passing by. The editor says, who is this gentleman? And उसने कहा कि इन्होंने सबमिट किया मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट, पिछले 6 महीने से तंग कर रहे हैं. ऐसे कि ठीक है, इसको आज निपेट देते हैं कि क्या करना है. I said I submitted work of mine and I never heard from you guys. I'm here to simply ask this, ki, have you accepted it or rejected it? And the editor said, listen, if we haven't reached back to you in so many months, we would have rejected you. So you can please leave now. क्योंकि उसने ऐसा बोल दिया और मेरे अंदर पंजाबी खून जाग रहा है और मैं मंडे मॉर्निंग 1 दिन की तनख्वाह छोड़ के शताब्दी लेके आया हूँ, मुझे कुछ तो बोलना है. मुझे I'm angry. Then somehow it just appears to my mind that इनसे ना वो अपने सैम्पल चैप्टर्स वापस मांग ले फिर, बिकॉज आई हैड गिवन देम वाया कोरियर.
वापस कर दो.
आई सेड मुझे ना वो वापस कर दो. एंड देन शी इज आल्सो लाइक, यार ये बड़ा बेशरम लड़का है जो मैं हूँ. तो मैंने कहा कि आपको पब्लिश नहीं करना, आप मुझे वापस कर दो. एंड देन शी सेड, व्हाई डू यू वांट इट? एंड आई टेल हर दैट बिकॉज आई फियर दैट समबडी एल्स इज गोइंग टू टेक दैट बुक एंड पब्लिश इट विथ हिज और हर नेम एंड इट इज गोइंग टू बिकम अ बेस्ट सेलर. आप मेरे हिस्से की रॉयल्टी रख लोगे. मैंने उसको प्लेजरिज्म के उसमें कन्वर्ट कर दिया. जस्ट फॉर अब मुझे पता है कि पर मुझे कुछ तो बोलना है ना यार, मैंने बोल दिया उसको.
सही है.
एंड देन वहां से एक इतना भयंकर जवाब आया जिसके लिए आई वाज़न्ट प्रिपेयर्ड. देन ही सेड, शी सेड, द एडिटर सेड, यंग मैन, if we would have rejected your work, we would have thrown it in some dustbin. If you really wanted, go and look up the dustbins of this city, but please don't waste our time. We have to publish other authors. And the way she said that, no, she said that. क्योंकि 40 मिनट हो गए थे, उनको भी ये इसको भेजने का क्या तरीका है. अब लास्ट चीज थी कि गार्ड आता और मुझे खींच के लेके जाता, उतना रह गया था. आई सेड कि ठीक है, आई कुडंट से. और मुझे ना पहली बार लगा कि किसी ने मुझे सचमुच मेरी औकात दिखाई है, वो वाली फीलिंग. मे बी ऑल ऑफ दीज आर राइट, सब कैसे ऐसे सोच सकते हैं कि my story doesn't deserve to be told. Maybe they are right. Maybe I'm just not able to see it. Maybe मैं प्यार में अंधा हूँ, मैं देख ही नहीं पा रहा हूँ. I step out. अब अगला सीन बॉलीवुड का सीन है. बारिश हो रही है और मैं रो रहा हूँ, और क्योंकि बारिश हो रही है तो किसी को मेरे आंसू दिख नहीं रहे हैं. And there is mud on my shoe. I go to ISBT, take a हरियाणा रोडवेज का बस, go back to चंडीगढ़. पर वो है ना कि कीड़ा फिर से like, वही चीज है कि ये नहीं हो रहा, इसको करना है यार, ये तो करना ही है, ये तो भैया करना है. नेक्स्ट वीक आई अगेन कम बैक टू दिल्ली. By now, I am sure that my book doesn't deserve those air-conditioned shelves in Oxfords and Crossford of this country. But I land up in a place, beautiful place called Connaught Place in Delhi. Connaught Place में की अच्छी बात क्या है, वहाँ किताबें सड़क पे बिकती हैं. ये मैंने पहले कभी देखा नहीं था. I said to myself कि ठीक है यार, वो बड़े लोग नहीं छापेंगे, इससे जाके पूछता हूँ ना. तो एक भैया बैठे हुए थे वहाँ पे. I just tapped his shoulder. ऐसे भैया जी, I said, अगर मैं 5 किताबें लेके आऊं तो आप यहाँ पे रख दोगे क्या? And then he turns and looks at me. He takes a good look at me and said, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर हो? वो बिहार का था कोई. अच्छा, मैं ऑथर हूँ. चलो ये ऑथर है, खुद भी बेचने के लिए आ गया है. ये उसने बोला नहीं, उसने आंखों से दिखाया. ठीक है. कितना गया गुजरा ऑथर होगा कि जो सड़क पे मेरी तरह ही आ गया है. ठीक है. ऐसे नहीं, 5 किताबें. एंड देन ही सेड, बाबू जाओ ना, काहे बोनी का टाइम है हमारा. ठीक है. एंड आई एम लाइक, नहीं सचमुच बोल रहा हूँ, 5 किताबें. आई थिंक उसने मुझे रफा दफा करने के लिए ही सेड, ओके ठीक है रख दूंगा, आप ले आओ यहाँ पे रख दूंगा. एंड इन दैट मोमेंट ऑल्सो मेरी होप बन गई. मैंने कहा सामने वाली लाइन में रखना है, मोर चांसेस ऑफ सेलिंग इट. ही सेड, हम जुबान देते हैं, रख देंगे, आप बस जाइए. In this entire episode where everybody has said a no to me, that footpath wala bhaiya was the first person in my life to say a yes to me. तो मेरे हौसले बुलंद हो गए थे. I did my maths. 1 फुटपाथ वाला, 2, इस इनर सर्कल में 10 हैं, आउटर सर्कल में 20, मतलब अब दिल्ली दूर नहीं है. एक्सेल शीट बनने लगी. ये मेरा बन गया. तो मेरा रिटेल सेट हो गया. अब मुझे प्रोडक्शन में जाना था. एंड देन आई फिगर्ड आउट कि यार ये जो NCERT CBSE की जो हम किताबें पढ़ते हैं, ये कोई तो प्रिंट करता होगा, मैं उनके पास जाऊंगा. ट्रेड बुक्स इनको बोला जाता है. आई विल गो देयर एंड फिगर्ड आउट कि दिल्ली में एक जगह है दरियागंज. वहां पे back then Daryaganj was the printing hub of entire country. If you go to Daryaganj in 2007, वहाँ पे हवा में, वो शाहरुख खान की मूवी का एक पेपर टाउन था. हवा में पन्ने, जमीन पे पन्ने, टायर के निशान, लोगों के चप्पल के निशान, रिम्स आ रहे हैं, इंक व्हाइट एंड ब्लैक. दैट यूज्ड टू बी Daryaganj ऑफ दैट टाइम. मैंने कहा यार तो बहुत सारे प्रिंटर्स हैं, किसके पास जाना है? वही फिर मैंने कहा सबसे छोटे वाले के पास जाते हैं, सस्ते में काम कर देगा. So I found this छोटा shop, went there. There was an old gentleman over there. He said, क्या करना है? I said, किताबें छापनी है. Said, कितनी? मैंने कहा 500. कहते कौन से पब्लिशिंग हाउस से आए हो? मैंने कहा आप ये सवाल क्यों पूछ रहे हो? कहते ये नंबर ही गलत बता रहे हो आप. मैंने कहा क्यों? कहते हजारों में बात होती है, तुम 500 किताबें छापने आए, कौन से पब्लिशिंग हाउस से हो? मैंने कहा मैं ऑथर हूँ. कट टू सेम सीन. वो भी मुझे ऐसे देख रहा है, वो कैसा गया गुजरा ऑथर है. बट क्योंकि मैं इस दुनिया से था नहीं, मेरे दिमाग में मैंने डाल दिया था कि द डे आई विल सेल 500 बुक्स, मुझे इतने लोगों को अपनी कहानी बतानी है, मेरा दिल भर जाएगा, मैं खुद को बेस्ट सेलिंग ऑथर डाल दूंगा अपने दिमाग में, एंड दैट्स अबाउट इट. दैट मैन आस्क्ड मी कि पानी पियोगे? मैंने कहा हाँ. उन्होंने मेरी कहानी सुनी कि क्या कर रहे हो, क्यों कर रहे हो ये. एंड देन ही सेड ट्रेडिशनल वे पे क्यों नहीं जाते? आई सेड मैं गया था. कैसे कितनों के पास गए थे? आई सेड ये सारे. कहते तुम्हें पता है कितने पब्लिशिंग हाउसेस हैं इंडिया में? मैंने कहा पता नहीं, ये 12 हैं, हो सकता है और 12 होंगे. कहते 1000 होंगे कम से कम. मैंने क्या बात कर रहे हो? मैंने कहा पर वो बेकार होंगे, छोटे होंगे, ये टॉप के हैं. कहते इन टॉप के पब्लिशिंग हाउसेस ने कितने टॉप के ऑथर्स निकाले हैं ये बताओ. क्या अगर ये पेंगुइन 100 ऑथर छापता है, क्या 100 के 100 फेमस है कि उनके 2 ऑथर फेमस है और बाकी 98 यू डोंट इवन नो? मैंने कहा बात तो सही है. कहते तो ये जो पैसा तुम मुझे दे रहे हो 500 किताबों के लिए, व्हाई डोंट यू रीच आउट टू देम, फिगर इट आउट.
Reach out to whom?
To other publishing houses.
Other publishing houses.
हाँ, कैसे एग्जिस्ट करते तुम्हें पता नहीं है, क्योंकि तुमने इंटरनेट में सर्च किया. इंटरनेट नया प्राणी है. There are so many of them. Right. You can do so. I figured out, landed up writing यहाँ वहाँ से जुगाड़ किया, फाउंड ही मेंशन टू मी गेट अ लिटरेरी एजेंट ऑल्सो। मैंने कहा ये कौन होते हैं?
लिटरेरी
एजेंट
कौन होता है?
कौन होते हैं? उन्होंने कहा कि ये तुम्हारे काम को लेंगे, उनको पॉलिश करेंगे, ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक्स तुम्हारी निकलवाएंगे, क्योंकि मैं कोई इंग्लिश से तो आ नहीं रहा था, इंग्लिश की दुनिया से मेरे तो अपने प्रोनाउंसिएशन हिले हुए थे।
पुराना चैट जीपीटी
पेड चैट, एक इंसान। so he did this work for me and he also felt like कि of course he took a good big check from me also to do this thing. Chat GPT, there is a free version, there is a paid version, this is a paid version. So I did so, wrote this to so many small publishing houses. One small publishing house said ठीक है हम करेंगे, मिलो आ जाओ, ऑफिस आ जाओ। मैं उनके ऑफिस में गया, I said कि कुछ अच्छा हो रहा है। I land up in a godown, ये आपका ऑफिस है? कहते हैं हाँ यही है, यही माल भी पड़ा होता है, यही हमारी कुर्सी भी है। But I think one thing which I figured out was that this publishing house told me कि हम आपकी 2000 कॉपियां छाप देंगे, लेकिन जीरो मार्केटिंग बजट। अगर ये चली तो वो चल गई, नहीं चली तो मुझसे मत पूछना कि तुम्हारी रॉयल्टीज कहां से आएंगी। देयर इज नो एडवांस, देयर इज नो दिस फलाना ढिमकाना, ये रहा हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। ऐसे मुझे पढ़ना भी नहीं है, मुझे तो मेरा गोल पोस्ट 500 किताबों का है, आप तो 1500 एक्स्ट्रा लगा के दे रहे हो। इट वाज नॉट अबाउट मनी, आई एम सेइंग आई एम मेकिंग गुड मनी इन माय आईटी, सो आई साइन इट, आप बस लेके आ जाओ। The book came out on 1st December 2008 और इसकी मतलब that was a time, November, I was at this printing shop asking कि 500 किताबें और मैं खुद को बेस्ट सेलिंग मान लूंगा। We are sitting in 2025. That very book has sold more than 1 million copies by now. वो सड़क पे भी मिलती है, वो थैंक यू, वो एयर कंडीशन दुकानों में भी पहुंच गई। तो इट्स अ लॉन्ग स्टोरी कट टू नाउ पीपल वांट टू रीड मोर आउट ऑफ मी। सेकंड वर्जन कब आएगा? सेकंड वर्जन आई सेड देयर इज नो सीक्वल टू दिस बुक, बट अब मैं फेमस हो चुका हूं। अब मुझे लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल से इनवाइट आ रहे हैं, कॉलेज में, गर्ल्स हॉस्टल में वो किताबें जा रही हैं, एंड आई फील ग्रेट फॉर द फैक्ट।
I have one question. So you've published with a smaller publisher.
Yes.
The book has blown up.
The book brought that publishing house to the limelight.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. What happened to the publisher that was super mean to you?
So that's where the story is coming to.
We're getting there. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm too impatient. I really want to know.
So 2008, the first book came out December. There's a separate story of who came and launched that book. It was Anupam Mittal of Shaadi.com. Back then, when nobody knew Anupam Mittal,
Anupam came.
he
That's
flew to
crazy.
Chandigarh. Ravinder, I will come. And this is a true story. It happened on Shaadi.com. I will come, and he sponsored the entire launch. 2008.
Oh, damn nice.
Yeah.
Incredible.
2008.
So there's a lot that I involved Narayan Murthy also. I'm a big entrepreneur that way.
You're an entrepreneur. No. I mean, author is fine, but you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
which is very clear with every single step that you've taken.
And all of this was like layman approach. मैं इसको कॉल करता हूँ, इसको कॉल करता हूँ, वो होगा क्या नहीं होगा क्या. So 2008 से 2009 आ गया, 10 आ गया, 11 आ गया. लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल में पहला क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट हैपेंड टू दैट गाय कॉल्ड रबिन इन दैट बुक? उसकी लाइफ में क्या हुआ? डिड ही मूव ऑन और नॉट? वी वांट दिस आंसर. आई सेड आई डोंट वांट टू, एंड लिटरली पीपल सेड नो, यू कैन नॉट डू दिस टू अस, यू हैव टू टेल अस कि व्हाट हैपेंड.
पीछे पड़ गए बोले.
इट वाज एग्जैक्टली द सेम वे. इफ यू हैव सीन दैट मूवी, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग द नेम, इट्स अगेन ग्रीन, द नेम ऑफ द ऑथर इज जॉन ग्रीन की एक मूवी आई थी, फॉल्ट इन आवर स्टार्स. फॉल्ट इन आवर स्टार्स में नेदरलैंड्स में वो लड़की है who goes to this author called Peter Van Houten to find out why he killed that character. Exactly मैं same experience कर रहा था. I said I can understand why they are saying no, you have to write a book to tell us what happened next. And this is also the time when so many publishers were noticing that there is this guy, his name pops up in AC Nielsen. He's among the top 10.
Yeah.
There is Chetan Bhagat, there is this guy. And then there is Amish also. He's talking about mythology and romance में यहाँ पे ऐसा हो रहा है. So I get a call from this publishing house, actually a mail, that Ravinder Singh, congratulations for the super duper success of your book. If you are thinking of writing the sequel of this book, can we hold this conversation, this and that? And I said great. यहाँ से आ रहा है, वहाँ से आ रहा है, वहाँ से आ रहा है. I land up going to their office. They said we have planned a great lunch for you. उसमें वाइन मोइन भी
He's
है.
the same publisher.
Yeah. Yeah. I came back. We had a great lunch. Now I'm still not speaking it out. There are these 3 women now. There's a commissioning editor. There's an editor, and there is somebody from the management team. मतलब पूरी खातिरदारी मेरी की जा रही है. And now they said, listen, we have a contract ready for you. Why don't you go through this? अब contract के pages भी बढ़ चुके हैं. The first publisher was a small publisher. 1 page का contract था. This is 13 pager contract. मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ. And now I'm stuck on page number 9 of that contract. कहाँ पे stuck हूँ? जहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है advance का amount. अब मुझे ये समझ नहीं आ रहा कि उन्होंने ये 1 0 ज्यादा डाल दिया है कि सचमुच वो मीन अगर मैंने ये सवाल पूछ लिया उनसे तो मेरी बेइज्जती पहले हो जाएगी. वो सोचेंगे ये खुद को इतना वैल्यू नहीं करता जितना हम कर रहे हैं. What do I say? And this is exactly the moment when she says, the editor says, oh, we would have loved it had you come to us for your first book also. Now this is my moment. ठीक है. अब मैं वो जो पढ़ रहा हूँ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, अब सडनली मेरा फोकस उस 0 से हट गया है. नाउ आई एम लाइक वेरी इंट्रीग्ड इन दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन. तो मैं फ्लिप कर रहा हूँ उस पेज को एंड आई सेड दिस टू हर कि मैम, यू डोंट रिमेंबर, एग्जैक्टली 4 years back I was here in this very office wanting you to tell me whether you have accepted my work or rejected, and you told me, of course she wouldn't remember it now, that go and look for that story in the dustbin of Delhi. और ये मेरा मोमेंट था ना, ऐसे करके हाँ क्या बोल रही थी आप?
Yes.
She had absolutely no memory of it, and I felt I would be out of my place to embarrass her further. I just said I had given it to you, you had rejected it, and that's about it. But I took that contract, went back home. I was scanning other contracts also, but this is the time suddenly the advance amount was humongous for me, and I love the fact that somebody is appreciating this. I loved my entire journey of where I had come. My first print run of the first book was 2000, and this time I was in ISB pursuing my MBA. I finally made it to my Ivy League of college also.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so you also applied for ISB and got through ISB as
Ankur
well?
Variku was the guy who was interviewing me, and in my entire interview, and I keep telling Ankur so many times, you know, तुम्हें पता नहीं था मैं कौन हूँ, मुझे पता नहीं था तुम क्या आगे जाके बन जाओगे. So Variku was an ISB grad. He was interviewing me, and guess what? The entire interview was, how did you write your first book? It was not about anything else. That this passion which brought me all the way here. So I made it to that class also, and when I was there, this publishing house published my second book. Now the publishing houses had merged also. There were all sorts of contracts came my way. I signed my contract with Penguin Random House.
Awesome. So you've arrived at this space. You've written a couple of successful books, and then you, of course, I know that till today you've written about 9 novels.
11.
11.
9 books and 3 anthologies.
9 books and 3 anthologies is what you've written. And in the journey, there's a couple of things that's also happened. One, of course, has happened with Tag Mango itself, but one is you started your own publishing house.
Correct.
Which is Black Ink.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to kind of share, I'm sure with the ordeal that you faced, itni jo takleef aapne face kiya tha, and that became the inspiration, is what I read.
That is true.
So what's the thinking? What are we doing at Black Ink currently?
So I did it immediately after I quit Microsoft. That was my last job.
Okay, so from Infosys you shifted to
Infosys, then ISB happened 1 year, and after ISB I was picked by Microsoft.
Got it.
And then within 8 months I realized that it's a lot of money but less happiness, and I wanted happiness. और मुझे था कि यार प्रोग्राम कोड्स लिख के उतना मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है जितना लव स्टोरीज लिख के आ रहा है. So I wrote my first book at Infosys, second at ISB, third at Microsoft, and then I was done. Now I had good royalties coming as a cushion कि कुछ नहीं भी होगा ना 2 साल चल जाएंगे. And that's when I kick-started Black Ink, because so many debut authors were coming and they were looking up to me कि यार मुझे भी आपकी तरह लिखना है. If you could start from that footpath वाला और ये कहानी आ रही है तो फिर, and I again felt कि with great powers comes great responsibilities, so let me kickstart this thing. It started that way. I will publish 3 authors and see how it goes. So I've been doing that. Cut to long story short, brought out some 15 novels, sold 4 to Bollywood, and good reputed production houses bought
very
them.
nice.
They made good money. Black Ink also made good money. So it started that way. It's right now not my prime focus because I am now doing so many other things.
Right.
At the same time, I am able to sustain it. Now my next jump would be to build an entire team who can take care of Black Ink work because I am doing multiple things. One of the things why I am involved with Tag Mango also.
Got it. And it's just been a phenomenal joy as well. Getting to know you, and of course you're connected with Maz and everyone on the team.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing your story, man. Amazing. I'd like to move to Gurmehar.
Can I just say, I feel like I made a mistake. It's always, I think the last act is the worst place to be because how do you top both these stories? You can't.
I think the best comes the last, right?
No, I feel like I should have taken the second spot.
जब मैं दे रहा था
First come, first serve, तो बोले.
Oh no. That's too much pressure. Maybe edit it out.
Put this first.
मेरा पूरा रखना इसका आधा काट दो.
No, I'm joking.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so Gurmehar, we'd love to know like how did the journey happen from your early days, and of course I've read about your early days as well. And you've written a couple of books so far. Two books you've written. The first one is a memoir.
Yeah.
Is that the right way to pronounce it?
That is the right way to. I think they were talking about pronunciations before. In fact, I was reading this book with Gandhi, and Gandhi is quoted there, and he says, we Indians, we worry too much about our pronunciations because we almost feel like we have to, there's still that
baggage.
That baggage, right? Whereas you look at the French can't pronounce anything in English properly, but they take a lot of pride. I just feel like you pronounce whatever you want to pronounce, it's fine.
So memoir.
Anything goes. You don't have to worry.
Memoir, as most people would say.
A memoir, whatever you want.
I'm kidding. So the first one's a memoir, and and the second one's more basically sharing of stories about the. I'll let you.
I'll tell you.
Yes,
the first one's a memoir, and the second one is a book about young politicians in India. This was before the 2019 election. It was the first time we were going to be the youngest nation in the world with almost I think 26-29%, and my numbers could be wrong because I haven't gone back to my book in a long time. Under the age of 35, of like 1.3 billion people at that point, and we were going to go vote. So I was very curious and very interested, and I wanted to, see who are these young leaders who are leading this very young nation. So I decided that I'll go meet them and I'll see what's going on in their head.
Absolutely. No, but I'd like to kind of begin from the beginning itself. So if you could share a little bit of your early childhood, what your inclination towards reading has been, and I know you have, and if you're comfortable sharing.
I mean, I am 100%. I mean, I can obviously tell. I do a bit of a caveat. I feel fiercely protective of my life before, because I think I almost kind of had this moment in life where I've grown up post aged 18, just grown up. Every decision I've taken has been in the public eye. So I kind of really fiercely protect everything that's been before. But I think the two things that the both of you said earlier, Ravinder and Sweta ma'am, you guys have been incredibly brilliant at studies. That was never necessarily the case with me. I think I was, and I don't know why that was, because I think I was always that kid that had lots of potential and lots of energy and could do so well, but it never necessarily translated into academic success up until the period that I went to school, and then it was also just to also go back a little bit and set context. My dad was in the Indian Army. And he lost his life in action around the Kargil War in 1999. And I've grown up with my mom and my nanny and my sister. And it's just been a family of women. And I think throughout that period, my early childhood was obviously very turbulent, emotionally turbulent, because I think I was trying to make a lot of sense about concepts that 3-year-olds should not be making sense about, like death. What does it mean? Okay, why is that there's this person who I love and I can't see them anymore. So even before, and I often think about it, even before I started knowing the meaning of life, I had to understand what losing it meant and what it entailed and how to emotionally process it. And that took a very, very long time to sort of come to terms to it. And so I think for me, it was, my early years were just kind of spent trying to make sense of it, trying to go to school, trying to understand why my life was so different compared to my peers, because my mom went to work, and this is all Jalandhar, this is not Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, it's a small town. And when you watch TV and when you see stories, a family is mom, dad, sibling, you, and of course grandparents. So for me, that structure never existed. So I always felt a bit, okay, this is not my life, but this is everybody else's life. So how do I make sense of it? And I remember and I've told the story multiple times, but I think it's so important, particularly in this day and age and this period in our country, to speak about this. But I would go and there was just a lot of anger in me as a child, and I didn't know where to put that anger out. So I would ask people, oh, why do you think this? Why, what happened? Why is my dad not here? And they would say, okay, it's the Pakistanis that have, they're responsible for it. And because of the media that was there back then and even today, there's a part of you sort of start associating Islam with a particular country. And I know we're not talking politics here, but there's a part, I can't avoid it. You start associating it, and in my head, I just thought that this is what I have to put all of this anger and hurt and sadness and these emotions that I didn't even have vocabulary for, but I was feeling, need to put it out on. And we went to UP where my mom grew up. She grew up in Saharanpur, like the mid of her childhood years. She grew up in Saharanpur, so we went to Saharanpur. And it was for the first time. So when you're in Punjab, the ratio in Punjab, the demographics are such that there aren't many Muslims. Why there aren't many Muslims? Because partition happened. So you don't necessarily saw a lot of Muslim people, any symbolisms of Islam a lot. But when I went to Saharanpur, aged, I can't remember, 6, 5, 4, I don't know. And it was the first time I saw a lady clad in a burqa in a market, and I just was so angry. I was like, oh my God, I must be in Pakistan. You're also 5 years old, you don't know geography, you don't know where you are, you don't know states. And I took and we were in this Bartan ka market. So I took like and though isme chakun aise steel ke glass mein aise ulta rakha hota tha. And that's where you also have chammas, that's also where you have plates. And I just thought, okay, so what do you do when you have to hurt someone? You see it in the movies that you pick a knife and then you run after it. Now I'm very tiny and a small child, and I pick it up and my mother sees it and she holds me, and it's a memory that's been etched so much because I've spoken about it and I've spoken to my mom about it so much. She holds me and her face is horrified. She's like, what were you trying to do? And I'm also yelling. I'm just like, oh, that's the woman that's responsible for like the death of my father and all this hate. And my mother picked up that, okay, this is a very traumatized child. And of course, she for all these years had been going through, the loss of her love. My parents had this beautiful, lovely love marriage. And of course, dealing with my 3-month-old sister at that point, while going through all of it and like resettling her life. So I think maybe she didn't notice that there was all this anger. And I think she picked up on it quite early and would really ask me to talk about it. I don't know what it was, but she just said, anything you're feeling, tell me, because I want to know what's going on in your head. You cannot have so much anger. You cannot have so much hatred. And I think also started for my own mental sanity to explain to me that, people are not bad, religions are not bad, countries are not bad, and made it make sense for me, so I just didn't have any hatred. And I think that's also where I started telling a lot of stories. I felt a lot of comfort in being able to vocalize my thoughts because I was encouraged to vocalize my thoughts. And we had this wonderful teacher, her name's Pinky ma'am, and I hope if she's listening, she's changed multiple lives. So she gave us an assignment which was for your summer holidays, which is read a book. Any book, and just one book you must read. It could be a Percy Jackson, it could be a Harry Potter. Just pick one and read. And very much like you, there's a charm of new books. Aap padho na padho, as a kid, you want to buy a new book.
There's a smell of the book also.
All of that. But there's also like kitab nahi kharidni hai. And I told Mama, look, this is what my assignment is for summer school, for summer holidays. So please get me a book. So she got me an Enid Blyton book, and I read it. I went home and I started reading it. I'm like, okay, fair enough, punishment, but ठीक है. और तब लाइट चली गई थी. तब उस ज़माने में अभी भी चलो लाइट काफ़ी जगह हो जाती है, वहाँ बहुत लाइट जाती थी गर्मियों के अंदर. तो लाइट चली गई, तो लाइट भी नहीं है, टीवी भी नहीं चल रहा. My cousins and my sister, they're also gone. So I said, okay, let me just pick this book up and we'll read something.
Mombatti ke niche?
No Mombatti. This is Dopahar. I wish. No.
Sorry,
no Mombatti. It's not that dramatic. It's just there's just no light, which is true for a lot of part of the countries. So I'm picking this book up and I start reading and I finish it and I'm just like, this is so exciting. I would love to have more. And my mother, for the first time, she's realized my daughter likes books. There's like a spark of academia there. So she ended up getting me a whole bunch of books. Then I went to school. And this teacher says, okay, so how many people have read whatever books? Everyone says 1. And I say, well, ma'am, I have read, and I list out like 10 books. And she looks at me, she's like, you were meant to read no books. No, you're not a class topper. You've come back having read 10 books. And I just said, it's interesting. And then I also realized, reading a book, and the book could be anything. The book could be, I too had a love story, a great romance novel.
Of course.
The book could be a play. The book could be an Arundhati. The book could be anything.
Right.
If you're sitting in a math class with an open book, it could be Archie's comic, but it's a book.
Yeah.
No one's gonna come and tell you that you're wasting your time. So I found a hack of life, which is, if I want to skip maths, this is very boring. All of this is very boring. I'm just going to open a book and read. And when I was reading it, I was just like, maybe I would like to do it one day. And then, because my mom was also working, so my mom would pick me up from school, but then she was posted a bit further away to Kapurthala. So she couldn't come to pick me up from school in the same time period. And then my mom decided, had a conversation with this teacher who also gave us this homework, said, look, I can't come pick them up. Auto laga sakte hain, but this teacher then suggested, why don't they stay back, me and my sister, and I'll work with them. Plus, she anyway is terrible at maths, maybe we can do some math homework with her. And a lot of times what would happen, we'd do maybe like 30 minutes of math, and then after that, our teacher would say, here is your topic, and write an essay on it. And at this point, I'm a talker.
This is which class?
This is same grade 4.
Okay, same
grade 4. So
okay.
I'm a talker, and because I can talk, I can write, and I've read these books. So if I was a fairy was an essay I had to write.
If I was a fairy?
If I was a fairy was one of the essays, Yeah. So she would give us a topic and I would start writing, and I would write like I'm talking and like I'm telling a story. At this point I've read quite a bit, so I know what a structure instinctively feels like that, and I felt, okay, I found my identity. But that was how I think I began, my love for writing began.
So you've gotten to college, and I think college would be which year? 2016? 2016, right? 2016 and 2017, and all this while you've been documenting, these are This is basically you're journaling and writing down all the stories of your...
So I have a knee injury
Okay.
in 2012, 2013, and I realized maybe I can't recover from this anymore, and I can't play. I go back home. I've had multiple. I can barely walk. I'm now home, and I remember at that point the Nirbhaya thing had happened. So 2012, then my injury was. I was talking about peace building. For me, I think, and it's still, and I know a lot of people would initially say, oh, that's such a naive thought, but अब पढ़ लिख के आ गई हूँ इतना, अब पढ़ाई कर लिया है South Asia or international relations. But I think it still, for me, comes down to this. For me, I think the reason why I'm even in this space is I have a very simple, very clear goal that I do not want any single girl to, and it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter what region they come from, what their ethnic identity is, what their nations are, whether they're Indian, Pakistani, whatever, it doesn't matter. I do not want them to ever feel the loss of a parent. And if the conflict is the point of it, then my life is dedicated to end that conflict. I think that's a clarity I had back then. That's a clarity I have, and I think that's a clarity that no one's going to take away from me.
And when did the book come by? The first one, which is in 2017, I think, is when the first book was launched. So when did you decide that, yes, I want to write this book? What was the journey of writing the book? And
I mean, age 12.
Age 12, so you've been documenting all of that. And then when did you decide to publish it? And what was the journey of going ahead finding a publisher?
I always wanted to publish it. Penguin had a competition called the something Inc. I can't remember.
Okay.
And during the same period, so I've written this book. I have a full manuscript, and I sent the application for this Penguin Inc. Young people send in your stories on 19th of May back in 2013.
Okay.
And of course I don't hear back, and that's fine. Of course I don't hear back. सबके साथ होता है. And but whatever. So I sent it. I wasn't expecting to hear back either. And then I came to Delhi University, and there were of course these campaigns that I was a part of. One that I launched, which is Students Against ABVP. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's too political for this podcast. So if anyone wants to know, you can Google it and and understand my views on that. But there was a whole bunch of all of that happened, and I was writing a lot throughout that period.
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't writing throughout that period. I think I started this campaign in Delhi University. I don't think anyone goes 6 months into their college thinking they're going to do something and it's going to make national headlines for the next 1 month.
Yeah.
I just thought I'm going to do it. The only thing I can do is write. And then there's an editor at Penguin, the love of my life, truly the best person ever. Who's been like a sister to me through everything. She had sent an email to that email ID with that blog. The thing is, at that point, I put my mother's email ID because I was too scared. So that email went to my mom, and my mom would hardly ever check emails. One day my mom calls me and she's like, there is a Manasi from Penguin. She wants to speak to you. And I think you should call her. This is her number. So I called her. And Manasi is like, oh yes, it's been a month or so since I've written this. I would love to discuss, maybe a book if there is one. I know you're doing literature in LSR. I would love to speak to you. And by then I'd written in newspapers, etc. as well. So I said, okay, yeah, Manasi, let's meet. And at this point, I also have blue hair. So I took the I took the opportunity of today, now this period, nobody in my family is going to say anything to me. Everyone thinks I'm such a fragile child. I could kill a man, I mean not that I would, and I would be forgiven by my family. So I decided, what do? I will color my hair like a rainbow.
Like a rainbow.
Like a rainbow. So I had blue and I had pink and I had all 7 shades. And on Instagram it's quite popular to have like multicolored hair. I'm also a DU first year. So that's what I did. I had like multicolored hair. And none of my photos I have that hair because I got the multicolored in the thick of like the world getting to me. And I said, Mama, abhi aisa karo, please just send this money to me. I need like TLC, so I color my hair, which is ridiculous. Anyway, and I'm in hiding at this point in Bombay with my Masi. Nobody knows where I am. And there's some media in my house in Jalandhar, some media in LSR. I've moved and I'm here in Bombay and I get my hair colored. Now this editor comes and sees me and the first thing she says, she's like, you've got blue hair. And I'm just like, yes, I actually just colored it. And then Manasi, we go to this coffee shop, she asked me, so I was thinking, maybe you would like to write something like this. And at this point, I'm just this girl with blue hair, who's just straight out of college, bags on my shoulder, and clearly not to be, I guess, a child, right? So I looked straight at her and I said, actually, no, that's not the book I want to write. I have written this book. I actually have sent you a manuscript as well. The book is going to be this. The book is not just going to be about my dad, but I think the book has to be about my grandmother, about my mother, and about these 3 generations, because I wouldn't have my dad if I didn't have these 2 women keeping his memories alive, and I wouldn't be this person if it's not for like the generation of women before me. And the greatest story that I have to tell you is the story of how my parents fell in love and how my mother has kept him and his memory alive for me. For all these years. The story is not about me, it's about them. And I'm just going to write it from a child's perspective, the way I have seen it. And I've written it, I've sent you, and she looks at me like just blank. She's like, okay, then you know what? I came with ideas, but I'm taking those ideas back. Why don't you send me 3 chapters and a synopsis on this email? So I go back and I send 3 chapters and a synopsis on that email and a sort of and a structure of how that book is going to look like. Now I've lived with this book inside my heart and my head and my belly for all these years, so I knew exactly what it would look like. And yeah, that was how I published my first book. And I also remember the same year, it was the first time I went to this very famous literature festival that happens in Rajasthan. And there was a young girl, and her parents were, she's 16 years old, her parents were very big writers and filmmakers, and she was launching her first book, and I was in the audience. It's the first time I've ever been to a literature festival, and I remember looking up, this is January, March is when I spoke to Manasi, so this is January, and I'm looking up at this brilliant young girl, very talented of course, and I'm saying, next year, you know what, I'm going to launch my book right here.
Oh, wow.
In this. And at this point, why should anyone publish me? I'm from Jalandhar, 6 months out in Delhi. And then the next year I launched my book with huge, like so much love from people, these massive crowds in that same literature festival.
That same literature festival that you launched?
Yeah.
Super. And this is I think 2017 again you launched?
So I launched 2018. 2017 was my campaign.
2017 was your campaign, and 2018 is when you launched the book.
My book.
And how did that transition into the next book that you went about writing?
Because I think by then I'd written this book, and I'd also, okay, you've published one book. Maybe that was luck. And
so something about proving yourself out?
Yeah. I was very fascinated by the lives of young politicians and activists. I wanted to know how they think. I wanted to know how they envision life. I wanted to know what they thought about the country. I wanted to meet them, and I wanted to assess them, and I wanted to put them on on like a spot and question them. And I think the only way I could have done that was if I went and had said, hey, I'm writing a book, can I interview you? Because nobody else is answering any questions in a different setting. So I did that, and then I wrote that book.
Amazing. And this is The Young and the Restless.
The Young and the
The Young
Restless.
and the Restless
Yeah.
that it came out, and it got published along with Penguin itself.
Yes, both my books.
Both of them got published along with Penguin. So now you've written a couple books. Is there any more in store that you're planning?
100%. But I think this time I want to write. I've got 2 books that are already in works. I just do want to write something a bit more. I think my next book is the first is a memoir. The second is profiles of these young politicians. The third, it needs to be a lot more grounded in research. I have to put my Oxford degree to use, so that's what I'm doing. The next book is going to be on Punjab.
Got it. So I think since and I'm sure you'd be actively reading aggressively so far as well. So from, of course, the early days of your childhood where you went through a lot of turmoil as a kid, and then of course having found Enid Blyton, and beating everyone to kind of 10 books, and then figuring your way through in your life, and of course there's been challenges down the road, but still finding your footing and having shown that courage through and through. And which is
compliments.
which is just, I think, part of the journey. And for someone who's very young and who's seen so much early on without having a way to make sense of things, also immortalizing your father the same way Ravinder was looking to immortalize, I think has been exceptional. And thank you for sharing. And I think there's so much more in store for you that I'm just absolutely looking forward to.
Thank you.
We'll switch gears a bit, everyone from the audience as well. We're gonna play these interesting games in the middle, a couple more towards the end of the podcast. But this is an originally created game. It's called the 60-second story. In one of the bowls, there is a random word that's been given, and in the other bowl there's a genre. So it can be a thriller, it can be a romance, whatever genres that are there. Even I do not know what they are. And what we'll give, you'll pick up both chits, and then you'll have to create a 60-second story. We'll give you 30 seconds to think about something as well, and then you'll have 60 seconds on the timer. And whoever wins.
Who decides the winner?
No, do we have a winner for this? Yeah, we do have a winner for this. Who decides the winner for this? That's a good question.
What do we get for winning?
Whoever wins, we'll reveal the gift later. The hampers are.
Wait, there's a real hamper?
Then she will play.
Okay.
I don't want to overcommit.
I'm sorry, then my competitive side will come out.
I don't want to overcommit about a hamper.
The hamper comes with cash on delivery.
But there's gonna be something interesting, even though we'll get some interesting reel out of it for sure.
Okay.
So whoever wants to go first, and are you timing? Someone needs to time that 60 seconds. Would like to go first?
I can go first.
Of course, yes.
Okay, one this, right?
Yeah, even I don't know what those words are.
Your repeating is not making me believe it anymore.
अरे सत्य बात है वो.
Okay, this is adventure, and this is cafe.
Adventure and cafe. Ooh.
Okay. Adventure and cafe. Oh, you're starting the
No,
time.
no, no.
Okay.
You can take.
I will take 30 seconds at least to think, yeah.
30 seconds to think. After 30 seconds, you'll start the 60 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Ready.
All right, amazing.
So I happen to be on this story starts on a dating app. I happen to swipe right on somebody, she swipes right at me, and we agreed to come to a cafe. That's where we meet for the first time. The adventure, which turns into a misadventure, is I could not notice her in that very cafe. She raises her hand and says, come. And this is where things turn dramatic. मैं उसे पहले कहता हूँ कि are you this person? She says yes. And then she's holding her hand on her mouth and says, I knew you are going to not believe this. I connect the dot that all these 3 months I was talking to somebody else who had faked her profile. This is the time wherein I feel काश ऐसा होता कि 90s में हम वापस जा पाते, dating उस तरह से होती wherein we see people in the real world first and then decide that we talk to them on a digital platform at a later stage, this misadventure leads me to build something called Let's Socialize, where I bring singers under one roof, make them see each other first, and then go and chat on the digital platform. That's the story of
10 on 10.
adventure.
Amazing. 10 on 10.
Wow. A true entrepreneur.
I love it.
This is fiction and non-fiction both collaboration.
ये हर जगह में कैसे
मैं
प्रोडक्ट
कर
के
लूँगा।
बारे में बात कर सकते
I
हैं।
love. You
Very
need to
nice.
teach me this. I feel like I'm so
She
bad at
teaches
this.
everything.
Yeah, oh yes. I'll come to your courses. Yeah.
So,
That
well,
was
this was
crazy.
not the rule, but he added it.
Yeah.
That you have to market also.
I mean, he's marketed his product also.
So he added it. I just did a storytelling. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's crazy.
Really
That's
awesome.
crazy. Amazing.
Awesome.
Who wants to go next? Yeah.
Great.
ठीक है, श्वेता.
It's a podcast table.
Okay.
Now, if it turns out to be thriller, then my job is easy.
That's it.
Oh my God! See,
You
Oh my God,
manifested
what a
it.
story.
Oh my
You
God.
manifested
You
the table and the thriller even
you
before.
teach us. Listen, how do you do it? You took manifestation classes. I'll come to both.
okay.
Seconds later.
Just a minute.
Okay. So, it's a podcast by Divyanshu, Tag Mango, and he calls it 3 authors. And Gurmehar, Ravinder, Sweta join in, and they're sharing their story. And there is an airy sense of coincidence or what is happening. 1 hour passes, 2 hour passes, and they're thinking how come their stories are connecting, and how come they are in the same time frame, they're doing different things, but what is that one thing that connects all? They don't realize then. They go back, and one person realizes that, okay, so I'll change a bit here. The story is, one person had a really traumatic experience out of the 3. The 3 were school friends, and they were sharing their story, but one was not telling the truth out of the 3. So the person feels that, the traumatic experience was because of someone else. And the thrill builds up on that podcast table, but the person is not strong enough to share. After they go back, the person who had the traumatic experience connects the dots and realizes, oh no, it was this person who lied, and the person responsible for my problem was this particular person. So, yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Very spontaneous. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, my mind just went
Yeah. Just multiple places.
berserk right now. But all right, intense.
Yeah.
And basically, in the story, the person, someone was playing a facade all this while, and
Yes.
the reason for, and they were faking it on whatever.
So one person was faking it, and faking it meaning not feeling responsible for what the other person went through. And
Got
the
it.
other person was blaming someone else
Interesting. And then they get to know about it, and the thrill comes
later.
towards
Yeah.
the
And so the backstory would be why that person was faking it, and then why that person didn't take the responsibility. That would be the end of the story.
Got it. Gurmehar, you're up next.
All the best.
Do I have to do it?
Yes, you have to.
Don't be the
It's
third
just
person who was.
That's what I'm asking. Do I have to do it? Can I just be that third person?
Tisra.
Oh God, I'm too nervous. Okay, in my defense, I write non-fiction.
Yes.
I just read fiction.
You read fiction? All right, amazing.
I don't write it, so I don't know. Oof. Okay, why am I so nervous? It's just a
We're all
game.
looking
There's
at
not
you.
even like.
All
There's not
eyes
even.
Don't
are
worry,
on
there's
you.
no spot except that one.
Yeah. Mango. Okay.
Oh wow.
We
Okay.
subtly brand
Oh,
ourselves
we love it.
everywhere.
Fantasy.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Fantasy and mango.
I can see Katrina Kaif eating her mango.
That might be a bit of plagiarism there.
Okay. Not 30 seconds to start.
30 seconds.
Oh God, I haven't even started thinking about the story. Interesting. Okay. So there's this young, and I'm just
Go for it.
I'm just going. So there's a young girl. She lives in a small town in Punjab, and she is 16 years old, and everything in her life is just like really not working. She's feeling a bit depressed. She's feeling a bit sad. So one day, she is out hunting in the fields. But not hunting, she's out for a walk in the field and looking for butterflies or something and following them and chasing them around because it makes her feel happy. And suddenly she lands in she slips and falls into a tiny hole. It's not Alice in the Wonderland, but it's inspired. She slips and falls into a tiny hole and ends up in front of ends up in front of a trunk. When she opens the trunk, there's this old manuscript written in Punjabi. So it's not necessarily that old, but it's fairly old, and it says that she needs to find a mango, and when she finds a mango, with the mango she'll find the truth of life. And it is dead winter, she doesn't know where to find this mango. There are details about what this mango looks like. It's not normal sized, it is massive, it's the size of her head, it's come from the tropics of Amazon. And then she needs to find where it's kept, and there's also a gold version of it, which is a key that she has to unlock. And eventually, she then she follows the maps in the books to go find this mango, and the maps is where all the fantasy action happens. In 1 minute, I don't have enough time, but there is a dragon involved, and there has to be, and there are armies involved.
Crazy.
Where she's okay, that's one of the things. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.
It was a great attempt.
I mean, it was a great attempt. I feel like I can't. You put me in front of well, 1 million. I'm sorry, 1 million books I've sold. Fiction writer.
I'm very curious to know how this story ends.
Yeah, you can say this was the pilot. This was chapter 1. This is enough for publishers to kind of take on and get.
If anyone's given me a contract for this, with how many zeros did you have? Like 1 more zero than him, then I'll write it.
Take it.
I think this has been exceptional, and I think we can skip my.
No, I was saying.
Come on,
let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, all right.
Let's go for it.
Okay, I was not prepared for this, although I was.
As if we all were.
Can I just You must be prepared for all combinations.
No,
you're the host. Oh, you're not.
I've not read. They've just put the chits.
You're not cheating. Okay, fine.
इसमें अगर मेरे को cheating करना होता.
Fair.
Okay, let me see. Damn, it's comedy. That's the hardest.
That is so tough.
You have to make us laugh now.
Yeah.
Your story should make us laugh.
Good that I have control over the edit. And that's how I start. Alright, and the word is clock. Clock and comedy.
Okay.
Nice, they're right.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's right.
That's not easy.
बहुत बुरे फंसे हो.
Thank you. काफी बुरे फंसे. Clock and comedy. Tell me when the 30 seconds have started.
That is the comedy actually.
कितनी सेकंड में?
That clock of 30 seconds is your.
Alright. So there is this clock. His name is Matt, who's just chilling and he's thinking about the world that, hey, what am I doing? Just ticking and talking. 1, 1, 1, 1. You get the drift, right? And suddenly he finds this friend. He realizes that he has 2 big ears, which is Mickey Mouse, and I have to figure out comedy with Mickey Mouse somewhere. So that's why I'm integrating Mickey in the story.
Okay.
So I think you're getting the drift of the story itself. And then what happens? That is funnier. the way to get stumped is being funny.
I was waiting for this.
And then what happens with Mickey? I think people have laughed enough with the comedy genre I had. No, but I think we need to decide on a winner. And we've not thought of a way to decide on the winner. So I think
Ask the audience.
Huh?
Ask the audience.
Ask the audience. Yes.
Yeah.
There's 6 people here.
Can I just say, I'll concede to Ravinder.
Wow. That was the cue for the audience, guys.
I don't know. I just feel like you plugged it very well. I'm also feeling a bit jealous. I'm not a very humble
there was marketing as well.
Yeah, I totally.
There was marketing as well. There's a product integration. I don't think Ravinder, anyone would have done it better than you. So I think you're the winner, man.
Thank you so much.
What do we have for the hamper?
Sure.
Initiating this.
Yes.
Oh, really? We have oh my God, this is something. We really had a hamper.
Yes. Amazing thing about the hamper is that
there is a dancing cactus.
It's the dancing cactus.
Can I just open it? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
For winning the 60-second story.
I always wanted to win something, never won any other award in my life for the books, apart from Reader's Love, and now this dancing cactus.
But amazing.
Thank you.
I think after that amazing 60-second story, what we'd like to do is we'd like to together maybe take a case study based approach.
Okay.
If we had to build the roadmap or the framework for a young person who's interested in writing, maybe writing a book or building a career in writing, what are the things that they should know and what are the things that they could potentially action upon? So we'd love to cover from opportunities that's available for writers to how they can go about growing in content and using that as leverage, how they can go about improving their craft as well, and dive more into the tangibles of it and run with that. All right. So the first question I have, and it's an open floor for all you guys, is what are the things that you believe, like who is this person and why should I think about writing as a career as well?
Anyone who has a good story to tell should be a writer.
Anyone who has a good story
to tell.
Okay.
Any story to tell.
Any story to tell.
Yeah. If you have a good story to tell, if it's about somebody else, then do non-fiction writing. If it's about you, then do non-fiction writing. If it's something you're imagining, then do fiction writing. If you have a good story to tell, you should be writing. And I feel like, and that's the thing, the basis for everything you go on to do, whether it's music, content, comedy sets, films, documentaries, reports, academic writing, it's just writing. So like who should write? Everyone should be writing.
Everyone should be
Everyone's a writer.
But it's not dependent on whether I have the ability to tell a good story, or is telling a good story a skill set I could ideally consistently build on.
I mean, I think the definition of what a good story is also keeps changing. For example, I don't know if I can tell a good story in a 30-second reel, but that's also good writing. Like someone who can tell a great story in 30 seconds, that script is great writing. But just because I can't tell it, does that mean I'm not a writer? Maybe I'm not a particular kind of writer. Maybe I'm a different kind of writer, but I'm still a writer. So I think, would you agree on that? Would you disagree? What do you guys think?
I think that everyone knows how to tell a story because it is in our DNA. You know, if you study, when language was also not discovered, then also we were telling stories through our drawings, and that's how information got passed on. So thinking that we don't know story, it's actually self-doubt, I would say. Anyone and everyone here in this world can write a book, can write their story, can share. And then the self-doubt comes from the conditioning that we have been, you don't know this language, you cannot write a book. It's not that way. Anyone and everyone can do it. So if you can think it, you can do it. That's what I think.
And do you have a take on it?
Yeah, I think a person who believes that he or she has something to say to the world, and then, so that's the content part of it. Now, how you package it, the format, you do not have, I went for writing because there was nothing else that I could think of which I could do on my own. So I picked a particular format of that telling. You pick your format. It could be drawing, it could be dance, express. It's basically expressing. It could be podcast, it could be writing quotes on Instagram, it could be anything. If your calling is that I want to write, and I have the perseverance and that attention span to sit and write those 70,000 words. Because today we are dealing with attention span. Everybody wants to be a writer, and I know वो बोल रहे हैं 9 out of 10 will go back and they will not write. The problem with writers is they all claim I want to write, but they don't write, and that's when I say, you know, and then they complain, यार जब मैं लिखने बैठता हूँ तब मेरे दिमाग में कुछ आइडिया नहीं आता है. And my first helping hand to them is, जो भी आ रहा है गलत आ रहा है ना, लिख उसको. Write that गलत page. Now you are one step ahead. You do not have a blank page in front of you. You have a filled page, and a filled page will give you confidence. अच्छा कुछ तो लिखा है. Now the job is go and keep correcting one sentence by one sentence. Are you enjoying this journey? Everybody, I know all of the celebrities, everybody wants a book in their name. They have all the money, they have the fame, but what they are crying for today is that intellectual identity. कि मैंने भी एक book लिखी है. I'm also a thinker. I'm that intellectual person. Right. A lot of time they appoint ghost writers to write that, whatever that be. So my only thing is, you have content, you have something to say. Now you think of the format. If writing is that format, then go ahead. And also validate what you are writing. Are you also a good writer? First book, you wrote it because you wanted to become a writer. But if the question is, do you want to take it as a profession, then you need to care about, is there a market for it? कि मैं पागलों की तरह carried away हो गया हूँ कि मैं फन नहीं खाऊं. No, you have to validate. The consumer also is willing to read your work. Right. कि तुम अपनी दुनिया में जी रहे हो. That is important.
So how do you evaluate? Let's say I'm an author. I'm thinking of writing a book, and before even attempting to write the book, I want to evaluate the point you said. The same way it happens for startups as well, right?
Correct.
Like I have a product, whether I have to see whether there's a market. What you mentioned in your story, to test out for the B2B schools that you were speaking with.
Yeah.
So how does an author kind of do that, or someone who's in writing?
And this is something again I keep telling people. When they say, yeah, but my friends love my work. I said the first mistake you did is you took your work to your friends.
Exactly.
वो क्या बोलेंगे तुम्हें? कि गंदा लिखा है? नहीं. You take your work to serial readers. If somebody who reads thriller, और अगर उसने 4 पन्ने नहीं पढ़े ना, वो दिल रखने के लिए बोल देगा नहीं बहुत अच्छी है मैं पढ़. Has he or she read or not is important. तुम्हें क्या बोल रहा है? Doesn't matter. You have got me, you have nice things to say about me, but what do you do behind my back will tell me whether my work will be consumed by the likes of you or not. So that is the litmus test for me as a writer, and the best way to do so is I tell all debut authors, not young, old also. Today, the gift of the world is social media. You believe you want to test yourself, set up an Instagram page, write on it on a daily basis. When I was getting into this thing, there was nothing of this sort which existed. Today, if you, अगर तुम्हारे पास हुनर है, लोग तुम्हें फॉलो करेंगे. तुम्हारी डिग्री देख के फॉलो नहीं करेंगे कि तुमने कितनी किताबें लिखी है. नहीं, तुम जो लिख रहे हो क्या मुझे पसंद आ रहा है कि नहीं. Ask yourself this question: why did you share the last reel with somebody over here? Because it made you feel a certain way. या उस रील ने तुम्हें हंसाया और तुम्हारे दिमाग में यह थॉट आया यार ये भेजनी चाहिए, या उसने रुलाया तो तुम्हें लगा कि यार ये तो टच कर गया, ये चीज़ को भेजता हूँ, या उसमें कोई ऐसी इंटेलेक्चुअल बात थी जो क्वेश्चन कर रही है उस चीज़ को, और आज तुम्हारे पास जवाब है अपने पार्टनर को देने का कि देख ये रील में वो बात लिखी हुई है. That content will get shared further. So if you really have that skill, put it out on social media, let that handle grow. And that's when, now if you walk to a publisher's office, the publisher will say, oh, you have got 100,000 followers for your content, great, I want to publish you. Now you have turned the tables. That is the only best way in my limited knowledge. I would do this for myself.
Interesting.
So there are two things he's talking about. One is initially he said about perseverance. Perseverance दो जगह हो सकता है. Okay, one is writing a book which is very easy. Okay, writing a book is easy, but actually the main challenge comes is then finding readers for it. So how do you validate then before you find that problem that no one is reading my book, or I'm telling continuously but they're not reading, because publishing today is pretty easy through self-publishing. So what he's saying is, first you find your audience, you gather your audience through social media, and then you go ahead and, you know, any publisher is going to publish your book. But the other case is here, what if you don't have an audience right now, so you don't have to wait for so long, because it will take time for you to gather an audience like that. 100K or a 1 million followers totally will depend on your skill set and the content that you're creating and your perseverance and a lot of, there's a mix of it. So you can go ahead and first sell your idea first. That's what I teach my students, that you sell your idea first. Whether that idea also, if someone is ready to buy, say 49, 99 rupees, which is nothing, okay, which is just the price of a chocolate. But if people are not ready to spend even that on your idea, why spend time writing that book?
So when you mean sell your idea, like
pre-order.
Okay.
Without writing,
with a synopsis, with a summary,
your idea.
You're going direct to consumer and you're saying you pre-order this.
Pre-order your book. And then when you get your pre-orders, you go ahead and write your book, because it's like, 30 to 45 days you'll write and get published. So you give them a date, which is 45 days from now, pre-order your book, send it out to everyone on social media, get the orders, and then even if you have like 50, 100 people paying you 49, 99 rupees, that means there is a set of audience who would love to read what you have to offer. And you can start from there and then start marketing. So perseverance, the word enough. That is the most important in a writer and in an author's journey, and that comes from purpose.
I feel like you also have to define what good also means. I think good writing has a very different meaning for very many people.
Of course.
Yeah,
right?
but once you're putting it on social media, you will find
You'll
your
find
tribe.
your good,
Yes.
exactly. So I think,
people-
Your
yeah,
good. Find your good.
you'll find your definition of what good is.
Right.
But then, I think to loosely say good writing, I mean, good writing could be multiple types of writing.
Got it.
Some people are driven or drawn to certain writers. Some people are drawn to certain kind of stories. I think good is a very ambiguous word.
Sure.
And I think, so a couple of things that I would advise people, again, I don't give advices, but when somebody sees कि क्या हमें वो बताओ दो चीजें करनी है, I would say pick small topics, because somebody will say, oh, but my book is on mythology, what do I write, etc., etc. I said pick small topics. For example, pick anything random, like she was describing this podcast. Describe this podcast in a story in 60 seconds. Describe your morning, and your only job is how can you make your description beautiful and make somebody else see that morning through your eyes. कोई boring चीज को इतनी मजेदार बना दो कि इंसान को लगे अच्छा यार इसका कंटेंट फिर से आया, हम क्यों देखते हैं वो कॉमेडियंस का कंटेंट एवरी डे, क्योंकि यार ये हंसाता है. और यही यू हैव टू फाइंड योर यूएसपी, यू हैव टू फाइंड. आज हम इतना लंबा पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं, मुझे पता है मेरी प्रॉब्लम है कि मैं बहुत बोलता हूं, तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम है कि ये अच्छा बोलता है, तो काटूं क्या. आई वांट कि वो तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम बन जाए. सो फाइंड योर यूएसपी की, एंड ऑल्सो be sensitive. What are people liking? What are they not liking? Why did those people are not liking? It's very easy to say कि यार लोग मेरा कंज्यूम नहीं करते हैं कंटेंट, बेकार है लोग. वो तो सबसे आसान काम वही है ना यार. ये पॉडकास्ट अगर नहीं चला बोलेंगे लोग नहीं देखते हैं, नहीं. वो इट्स अ मार्केट, सबके लिए बराबर है रूल्स.
I have a question though. I think, okay, I have a question, but then how do you maintain that balance in terms of authenticity of who you are as a writer, what you want to write, as opposed to just being maybe a human chat GPT for like a set of audience. The audience wants that, so I'll create it. So how does one like, and there's not to challenge you or anything. I'm just very curious
It's the
about
artist
it.
versus entrepreneur.
It's it is. I mean, because there's a part.
Will you
that
write what
feels-
readers want, or will you
Yeah,
write
Will you
what
write
you have to say?
what is authentic to you? How does one maintain
I cannot
balance?
compromise on the authenticity part.
Yeah.
But मुझे उस पे वो धनिया और अदरक का वो गार्निश करना है
Interesting.
to make it sellable.
Yeah.
वो रैपर
Give me an
चढ़ाना
example.
है. अगर मुझे लव स्टोरी के अंदर, अब मान लो मैं एक रोमांस लिख रहा हूँ, मुझे उसको हीटेड इंटेंस इंटीमेट सेक्स सीन नहीं डालना है. माई रोमांस एंड्स ऑन ए किस, दैट्स हाउ आई लव इट. ठीक है, उसमें अब किसी ने कुछ बोला है कि यार मेक इट इंटीमेट, लेट्स से आई विल इंट्रोड्यूस समथिंग एंड स्टिल लीव इट टू देयर इमेजिनेशन. आई विल प्ले इट सेफ दैट वे, बट आई नो दैट पीपल वांट कि यार ये पूरी एक रोमांस था, उसमें किस भी नहीं थी. व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रोमांस इज दिस? सो आई विल पुट इट सम वे. I wrote a book called Like It Happened Yesterday. This is my only non-romantic book, my second non-romantic book. And my publishers told me, so Like It Happened Yesterday is packaged between my class nursery and class 12th. It's a school childhood thing. And my teacher my publisher said, you are a romance author. In this book there is no romance. I said, क्योंकि मेरे स्कूल में romance हुआ ही नहीं था. नहीं कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा. डालो इसमें, people will look up to reading romance. And then I recall कि अच्छा मेरी स्कूल में इंग्लिश टीचर थी, मेरा उन पे क्रश था. I built in that as chapter 11 and chapter 12, the one-sided love affair that I had it. Now this is, I'm not doing for myself, this is I'm doing for readers, but I'm still bringing something authentic कि हाँ यार वो इंग्लिश मैम को देख के मैं पागल हो जाता था, मुझे उसको लिखना है, I'll write that thing up. So I did something of that sort, it worked.
Awesome. All right. So what I'd like to jump on next is try to unpackage some of the business opportunities or monetization opportunities that a writer can think about today. From like publishing a book is one aspect of their career, which is where they can go ahead and monetize and go deep on that. Plus now there's monetization through content, which is maybe through newsletters like Substack and all of that. I don't know if you guys have explored, and of course there's digital products which you do. And you're doing offline, you're building an offline plus an online community all together for the same. So you'd like to kind of touch upon those different ones and try to see which sticks for whoever and who should approach what kind of an opportunity. But let's start with the most common one, which is publishing. If you had to break down how the publishing formats usually work, so how can an author approach a publisher? What are the things that they should be aware of? What are usually splits in terms of how the business works, in terms of royalties, etc. What's the usual splits, and all of those kind of intricacies to it. So I'd like to.
I mean, do you want to go on that? Since you've been a publisher as well.
I'll talk. See, there has to be a vision that why am I writing my second one? A lot of people write the first one because मुझे वो लिखना है. But once you see monetization, then you have to approach things very differently. You have to understand the market also. You have to understand your consumer also. Who is this consumer? You have to understand what should be the MRP of my book. Even that. And so many people are at a whole different level when it comes to it. Just because I read few authors who are priced at 800 doesn't mean what I write will be sold at 800. What I write may sell at 199, and if that's the TG, if that's my audience. Things have changed a lot in past couple of years, and things will continue to change in couple of years. I think change is the only constant. Roughly, you are lucky if you are earning a royalty of 7%. So the entire 7%.
Yes.
So this entire market is divided into advance and royalties. Advance, आज की डेट में छोड़ दो. If you are a nobody, like I was a nobody back then, doesn't matter.
कि आपको जैसे advance मिल गया था.
So there is some advance, that you sign up with us and you will get an advance. It's like the रोका कर लिया हमने तो.
Great.
तो वो हो गया. And royalties is once the book starts selling. Now the advance is against this royalty. So if you have taken, let's say 10 lakh ka advance, and if you have sold copies worth 10 lakh, you will get nothing because you have already got the advance. So 7%, 7%, 7%. Top league authors, very few. When I say very few, I am saying in single digit.
Got it.
Not even in double digits. Will earn a crazy royalty amount. It can be a very close to 20% also.
Okay.
On an average, it would be 7% if you are lucky, if it's a traditional publishing house. Then we also have vanity publishing, wherein you pay to a publisher, they are going to package your work. So if a traditional publisher doesn't want to publish you, which is also called self-publishing, in which you can self-publish yourself, or you reach out to a vanity publisher, you pay them a certain fee. It's again a different arrangement. There are different models that you can pick. Largely vanity publishing means you pay them to print. It's a POD kind of a thing. कि मुझे 500 copies छापनी है, and I want to take. It's again a SaaS model. I want cover designing to be done by you, or should I outsource? I want you to do the editing. I want you to do the typesetting. Typesetting is basically arranging those paragraph, the font, कि तुम्हारा चैप्टर कहाँ पे शुरू होगा, पेज नंबर रोमन में चाहिए, ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए. So that is typesetting. All of these services you pay for, and you get your book published. And because you are funding this, eventually there's an MRP which is put on the cover. Once you sell these many copies, this publishing house will start giving you the royalties that we have agreed upon.
Got it. But so usually the split is around 7% is the average.
In the traditional publishing house.
The traditional publishing, that's
this is what I have heard. To the best of my knowledge, these are the numbers that people talk about.
What's your royalty?
I told you the top 1% could touch.
Subtle, but I like it.
Could touch.
Nice. And what if someone takes the self-publishing route? Watch the self-publishing route altogether. It's like I go ahead and like go to a vendor and say that basically I get everything published. How does it happen?
She should tell.
So see, while he's saying that it's 7% on traditional publishing, but say Amitabh Bachchan publishes, or so they have a say then that, so they can bargain.
Sure.
When people have a good number of following or a good community,
right,
a loyal audience, so then they'll be able to bargain or they'll set the terms because they are more valuable than the publisher. Like in his case, an unknown publisher became known because of him. So there, the traditional publishing really didn't matter.
Right.
He made the publisher a name. Okay. So in self-publishing, now because of technology, you don't need a middleman. You can self-publish. You can put your book on TagMango.
Right.
Okay. Like I'm doing a few of my ebooks.
Right.
So that's one way. Amazon gives you 35 to 70% royalty in ebooks. 35
in ebooks.
Yeah,
so
and in paperback anywhere. So will depend on the location and the printing price. So roughly I think 20% to 25% will come to that number, which you will get published in all countries, all 12 stores of Amazon, international, as well as in national, in India also you can get self-published. So initially in 2003, we wouldn't believe that this is all possible. But because of technology now, you can get self-published.
The reason why traditional publishing offers you smaller royalties versus the ebook is because ebook को बनाने में खर्चा नहीं है.
Raw material खर्चा नहीं है.
Also the new age apps, for example, Pocket FM, Pratilipi, they are killing it.
Yeah.
You take your book or a single story to these apps and you monetize it. वो ऐसे download करते हैं ₹1 में. So if I am somebody who churns out story every week, which I don't do, but if I am somebody, I would जैसे web series आती है,
right,
ठीक है? तो every Friday you can put another chapter of your story. आप अपना पहला chapter इतना solid hook डाल दो and you make them wait for next Friday and then you upload it. ₹1 का एक subscription, but economy of scales come into play. Pocket FM got millions of readers right now. So everybody is spending that ₹1, ₹2, like she was talking about 49 rupees for the KDP thing. It's a great model. And I am aware of so many readers who read this and they have got, and authors who have got cult following on these apps. They may not have a traditional book at all. In fact, some of them have been adapted into a Netflix big series abroad. I think something of that sort should happen over here. So people, they may not have great Instagram followers also, but it's a pure model. If you want to be an author, go out there and somehow make your folks go and buy your work for those 2, 5, 10, 15 rupees whatsoever, because then you will bubble up.
But can I just say, I think this is also very niche to fiction writing.
Yes.
Right? I feel like when it comes down to, I mean, I do want to add to a point. I think the reason why a traditional publisher also takes a whole bunch of your, a whole percentage of the sales is also because they're doing a lot of, so with self-publishing, distribution is on you, marketing is on you, putting it out there is on you, every single editing is on you. You're never going to have an editor in that space. And then you get 35%, right? Whereas with a traditional publisher, I mean, of course, there's multiple barriers to even get through those publishers, and I do want to talk about those as well. But with the traditional publishers, they take care of almost everything from your edits to your marketing to which space it's going to be. Also, with the traditional publishers, you're only selling rights for like subcontinents. So if today your book does particularly well in India, you could always sell it to like maybe the UK and then separately sell it to the US. Whereas I think with a lot of self-publishing, it's a one-time done.
Got it.
Right? You're never going to resell the book. I don't know how it goes for fiction when it comes down to pitching your books to traditional publishers, because what I know is that for fiction, your proposal needs to be, of course, the 3 chapters, but you as a first time writer, you should have the whole manuscript with you. It just won't go on samples and structures for fiction. Whereas I think with non-fiction, you can, once you have a literary agent or once you have an idea, and it could be, you could be someone who's doing a PhD on this topic, you could be a journalist who's been covering a certain niche subject for a long time and you want to focus on it. Essentially what you do is you structure what that book looks like, and almost like a PhD thesis, pose a question or pose a thesis, and then you figure out, and then you sell how you're going to come to that conclusion, right? And based on that, you can sell your book and get the advance, which is roka aap karwa sakte ho. So you know how that's going to work. And I think that sort of, like particularly for me, I think that sort of confidence and sort of editor in your head saying, okay, I need a book out of you, and that accountability is quite nice. When
do you know what matters the most? Not the percentage of royalty, not the amount of money that you have made. It is the feeling that traditional publishing will always command a bigger respect than self-publishing in the minds of majority of people.
I think you have an interesting perspective.
No, so what I want to add here is, it's like, you know, आपने MBA कहाँ से किया? People will respect you if you've done from an IIM or ISB or some Ivy League. But if you've done from a local college, people will not respect that. But ultimately, your success is not defined from which college you're doing your MBA from.
Right.
So I believe that if you are good at it, and if you have a good audience, like Andy Weir or you pick, or E.L. James, these people were all self-published first. Robin Sharma, they're all self-published authors. And then because they proved that, you know, they have good work, ultimately they got picked up by traditional publishers.
Got it.
So if people are not getting, and not everyone gets response, because they had a like he also had a following and then only he got accepted.
Right.
She had made it to news. That is why she got accepted by a Penguin. But not everyone would have that kind of following to start with.
Have you seen this whole, or what you mentioned in terms of Pratilipi and the way to kind of monetize potentially purely on a digital? The fundamental still remains the same. It's writing and storytelling.
True.
The delivery of content mechanism has shifted, and which can be more interesting, maybe by virtue of how distribution and social media has panned out. Maybe the traditional form of writing and becoming an author is a harder path to take to build a career, a sustainable career on top of it. But do you have any thoughts on that? Like maybe a Substack newsletter or anything that you guys have experimented?
One can actually make multiple streams of income from their work. So book is just one thing that you're creating.
What else can they do?
Then they can convert that same thing into an audiobook. And you know, when I say self-publish, you can self-publish an ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook. Then you can create a podcast out of it. You can create a course out of it if it's a self-help book. You can create, you know, a speaking engagement or speaking opportunity or your speaking career out of it. So you can create many things from that one book.
Got it. Ravinder, you've very interestingly with the book as well, you've been able to capture a solid online following too. So of course you had this followership on Facebook you mentioned, and then how much of that was already translated to Instagram? And you mentioned 2018, 2019 के around Facebook का distribution खत्म हुआ था.
Right.
आपके जो 1 million followers थे उसके बाद for you to engage with them it would be much harder.
Correct.
And did you already have latent distribution on Instagram, or did you kind of build it up from scratch from there?
It was built it up from scratch. And I entered much late. In fact, my friends who are fellow authors, Durja used to tell me, क्या Facebook बैठा हुआ है, Instagram पे आजा. I said, no dude, मैं यहाँ पे ठीक हूँ. I can only do so much of social media. He said, देख बाद में पछताएगा. And then when Facebook totally died, when organic 1 million followers are not able to see my content, then there is no point of being on that train. कि चलो train छोड़ के कोई और train पे चढ़ते हैं. I entered Instagram journey much later, and then he was laughing कि मैंने बोला था तो आएगा, and then I started it up bottom up. तो वो करना पड़ा वहाँ पे आके, because you need to reach out, and this is the time when the words like influencers ये सब आ गए थे. This whole word. And then I attended some of the festivals. These were not literature festivals. These were like YouTubers and influencers. I said, ये कौन सी दुनिया आ गई है भाई? ऐसा लग रहा है age gap आ गया है, generation gap आ गया. So I had to learn the tricks of the trade, and फॉर्चुनेटली अनफॉर्चुनेटली जहां तक पहुंचे वहां तक पहुंचे, बट आई एम बिलीवर ऑफ द क्रिएटर इकोनॉमी. फिर मुझे वो चीजें समझ में आने लगी कि इवन इफ द बुक्स आर नॉट वर्किंग, कैन आई रीपैकेज द सेम कंटेंट. सो व्हेन आई केम टू इंस्टाग्राम आई वाज लाइक क्या करूं, अब फोटो खिंचवा के डालूं अपनी, ये करना है मुझे यहाँ पे, ये मुझे करना नहीं है. आई कांट डू ऑल ऑफ दिस. सो आई थॉट ऑफ
ट्रेंड्स कर रहे हो बैठ के.
So I then thought I can't do this. Who am I? I'm a writer. I will write. So people say I watched your reel and I loved it. I said you didn't watch my reel. You read my reel.
Yeah.
I'm over there with a writing board. Again, words have taken the precedence, the forefront, and the writer is on the back seat. That's what I'm doing with my reels.
So how should, like, because content is such a big piece of what the three of you have also spoken about in terms of course, the shift with market dynamics and trend shifting towards people reading lesser and lesser over time. Over the last, I think, 20 years, there's been a decline, and of course, social media picking up. How do you guys recommend for someone who's building out content from scratch right now, particularly in terms of the writing domain and wants to explore the whole writing side of the hemisphere? You mentioned a strategy, but how should this 20-year-old girl or boy approach content per se?
Find your niche, find your USP. It is extremely important. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Ask yourself the same question. जब आप खाने की थाली लेके नेटफ्लिक्स खोल के बैठते हो ना, फिर आप जो टाइम लगाते हो 10 मिनट, खाना खा लेते हो लेकिन आपको समझ नहीं आता देखना क्या. What goes in your mind? The same thing will go in that person's mind who is at the bookstore कि इतनी books हैं, क्या pick करूं? What will influence? Now, how did you make that decision? Oh, I want to watch this. Think of it. Your book should have an elevator pitch, and that should be so solid. Oh, bhai.
Achha.
I want you to produce something. You will say, oh, bhai. The moment I narrated that play game and story, and you said you are a great marketer, something made you say that, right?
Yeah.
वो क्या चीज है? You have to find your USP. Once you found your USP, then you know कि मैं कुछ एक संजीवनी बूटी लेके चल रहा हूँ जिसकी डिमांड हो सकती है. अब मुझे वो पेशेंट ढूंढने हैं वहाँ पे. एटलीस्ट मुझे ये पता कि ये बूटी ये है. You have to find your niche, you have to find your USP, और वो एक दिन में नहीं जाएगी. You have to test and try and pivot. आपको करना पड़ेगा. Once you are there, if I found romance and relationship is my USP, and I know that those people are still not going to buy my book, let me say, can I package this content in a 30-second reel, same relationship content, but repackage for them? Can I do that?
Yeah.
And which platform should I currently choose for
I think
as a writer, because you have a LinkedIn and Twitter, which are of course text-based platforms, and then there is your video-based
It depends on your content.
Okay.
If your content is, let's say, a non-fiction catering to the C-suite people, or how to find the best job, or some corporate thing, I would rather pick LinkedIn as the avenue, because then I can relate so much to it. If my content is more of fiction, even if it's mythology, if you want to project yourself as a thinker, I think LinkedIn would be. My advice is, सब जगह करो, देखो. You don't know कल को कौन से ऐप का एल्गोरिदम आपको कहाँ पे लेके जा रहा है. So multiply it, but have a strategy that I'm first LinkedIn and then Instagram, YouTube. I'm first Instagram and then copy paste model हर जगह पे. So have that strategy is what I believe.
Got it. So I think, yeah, of course, Gary Vee talks about the repurposing model. So you have this core piece of content, which you do with this podcast as well, where there's the parent piece of content, there's short of few clips that goes across everywhere, and which further also translates into your text-based content. So the same pieces of the conversation on the podcast will move to a LinkedIn post or a Twitter thread or whatever it is. And one of the other things that I've been able to identify, because I had also started out as a creator back in 2018-ish, before Tag Mango started in 2019, and I had about 200,000 followers on Facebook, and I had another channel जिसमें 6-7 lakh follower हो गए थे. And I faced the same challenge that you faced. कि even though I had distribution, I was still on rented lands. Facebook decided, hey, इसका तो following अब हम कम कर देंगे. He will not be able to talk to his own audiences. So fundamentally, what and that's also what became the thesis for Tag Mango, where you build out your own respective communities for the same. But the point I'm trying to make is, usually when you're starting out, any creator, what we've been able to see is that there is a supply-demand gap in platforms. when you said 2020 में जब Instagram आया था तो उसमें उस समय supply, and when Reels was also launched during COVID, there was a lot of demand for attention, but the number of creators that were creating on Instagram at that point of time were limited. So then whoever was creating content there really got a lot of attention. Facebook 2017 was similar-ish. Right now I feel it's Threads. Threads is somewhat giving a lot of organic traffic right now, but once I get back into content full-fledged, then I'll again have. Do you have an insight in terms of how someone should approach their content if they are starting out on social? Which platform and what should the approach be?
Create a lot of content, one, because then you would know which one is working. So it's very important that they understand where their audience is. Like he said, based on content, I would say based on audience. So if your audience is professionals, you should go on LinkedIn.
Sure.
But then doesn't mean that they are not there on Instagram. So yeah, repurposing would help. So that's one thing. Know where your audience is congregating. Second thing is then create. Don't box yourself कि मुझे सिर्फ यही type of content बनाना है. Make different types of content, and then you would know which type of content my audience is relating to more. Right. And then do more of that, but don't stop doing others, because then from there also you will learn, okay, what am I missing or what am I doing, what I should be doing more. So variety should be there, a plan, a content plan should be there for 30 days or 4 weeks, and different. One very important thing that I've seen is people love personal stuff, meaning they want to see you as a person, and when as an author, while you are creating content for your writing, they would also want to see behind the scenes of an author. That makes you relatable, more relatable. So
yeah, I mean, I would agree with this. I don't think, like, personally for me, and I don't know if it's working, if it's not, but this is what I'm comfortable with, and that this is what's at least authentic to me. Is that I don't necessarily use Instagram as a way to share my writing. Like, my writing does not fit in that format, and neither do I change my style of writing or my style of storytelling. For example, I've not necessarily moved to Reels in terms of translated my writing to Reels just yet. And I don't think I really want to as well, because I do everything in long form. I've never been the kind of person who's written shorter tweets or made shorter videos. However, what works for me is exactly what ma'am here was saying, which is there's a lot of, I think, as much as people want to read the book, people really want to know you as a person. I think developing parasocial relationships, having connections with people, sharing your life, sharing the behind the scenes is what necessarily works. Because I think when we think about a writer, and like a writer's life, there are all these versions that exist from God knows what times, where it's a writer in like a cottage and writing a book. But I think there's so many younger writers like Riya Chopra, Nona Uppal, who are essentially, they are, I mean, even Prajakta now with her book that's out, they are essentially, what they're doing is they're not necessarily packaging the written work into content, but what they're doing is they're packaging the behind the scenes as content, and that is something that really works. And I truly admire all of these women for that. And it's also their USP that they're able to share their work through that. Or for example, and the same goes for art as well. Art doesn't necessarily translate very well in terms of videos. Of course you can, but what you can do is show the process of it. Like Abhay Sehgal, another young artist that's coming up, he's taken, and of course art, very much like publishing, is a world that has multiple barriers to entry. What he's done is that he's taken social media, he's taken Reels, and he shares the process of his work and the way he thinks about his work, the way he thinks about marketing it, and really putting it out there, and that's working for him. I think it's a combination of all of that. You don't necessarily have to change your content, you just have to see what sticks.
Actually make more of it and don't take it too seriously.
Yes, also that. Just, at the end of the day, have fun with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to switch gears a little bit, and I'd like to specifically talk about on the context of particularly having these books, and you've published books yourself. What are the best strategies to market yourself beyond content? I know, for example, SEO works for books. I know there's Amazon sponsored that you could potentially highlight. I don't know, someone told me that if you've sold 5,000-10,000 books, a certain number of Amazon, that's how you get the bestseller. Kind of like, how do you get the bestseller tag as well? So let's start from there, and I'd love to kind of double click on some of these marketing hacks that someone can have for someone who's written out their books and to reach out to more people in a more systemized manner through SEO and through Amazon sponsored posts to reach a larger audience.
I think ads is one of the ways. When you don't have a following, obviously you'll have to go to inorganic. So one is ads, and also before you go to ads,
also, okay, go ahead.
Before you go to ads, you should have a funnel strategy, meaning you'll be running ads for your first book, but your second and third book should sell on itself because you have done a good job at first book. So then the first one, whoever reads and loves it, they will go ahead and pick the second and third book, and you will not be spending on selling your second and third book. So one is ads, but before you run ads, you should always have a strategy to monetize, because ads are very expensive. Authors वैसे ही कुछ पैसा नहीं बनाते, meaning royalty is really low, and you'll be spending in the front end. So that you don't bleed, you should have a back end as well, a strong one.
You have a very counterintuitive approach of how writing and authors ideally are told to be, right? Can you break down a little bit more of like the funnel and like?
So I'll give you an example. See, J.K. Rowling, she did how many books? 7. She planned everything before, and she was planning for 4 years, the entire funnel. And then, so before her first book was published, she had planned the 7 books. And then everything, all the marketing happened for the first one. Automatically, obviously, people who loved the first one would go ahead and purchase. So trickle, so it's clearly a funnel. So that's how anyone should begin. But obviously, when they start, the first one is like their outlet, and they will not plan anything. But from the second one, at least from there, they can plan a strategy.
Okay. Do you have something to say here in terms of, for example, on ads? I don't know if you've run ads on Amazon, etc., which I'm sure everyone know.
No, I haven't.
But like those,
but I'm aware of it.
See, but like Amazon sponsored ads, etc. I've purchased books by virtue of seeing an Amazon sponsored ad, more on the non-fiction side of things. But have you experimented
ads, with? I'll tell you, if I'm a debut author and I'm nobody, I will never burn my money on ads. Let's say if you are nobody to me, why will I buy a book named whatever and नीचे दिव्यांशु लिखा हुआ क्यों लूंगा? मतलब मैं सोचूंगा ये कौन है, ठीक है? Either I'm a big fan of yours, you may not be a writer. Even then I will double think. Today we are in a trend, we are in a bubble of all influencers writing books. I'll tell you, and with all authenticity and responsibility and accountability, we are in a trend of influencers writing books.
Yes.
Influencers turning into an author and authors turning into influencers are two different things. We have to understand this. Just because you are an influencer, if you got millions, and I'm not saying I'm going against कि आपको नहीं लिखना चाहिए, आप लिखो बिल्कुल. Your followers like you for who you are, may not like reading you. Writing is a different skill. What you are doing is a different skill. First, there is a whole confusion between who's an actual influencer and who's a content creator. हम वही भूल जाते हैं. A comedian is a content creator. An influencer is somebody who influences your life. हम उसी को समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं. We very loosely use this term. And now these creators are also writing it. Good, do that. But I can bet you, क्या उनकी सेकंड किताब या तीसरी किताब लोग पढ़ने आ रहे हैं उतने ही नंबर में जिसमें फर्स्ट टाइम में लोगों ने बाय किया था? फर्स्ट टाइम इज लाइक फॉलोअर्स बाइंग इट. आई वांट दैट देयर वर्क शुड सेल, बट आई एम आल्सो टेलिंग यू दैट so much of this is not going to happen because people know you for the skill what you bring to me, not the writing. If the writing is great, I will do so. So if I am an influencer or I have created some name and I'm writing my debut book, I will still put some money in ad. It could be my publishers putting. So with big names, publishers run those ads. But now influencers are also smarter because I have raised the royalties. I also want to pump it more because I want to see my name in those Amazon top 10 or first number 1. I take privilege because मैं race में पीछे कैसे रह सकता हूँ. So I've taken it on my ego. So I will also pump money because I have money. I will do so. But my advice to a debut author would be, who doesn't have a name, don't do this.
Yeah.
Rather pick snippets from your book which will question somebody's ideology or affect somebody's psyche. कि इस book के अंदर उस लड़की ने ये बोला कि women laws में ये बदलाव आ जाना चाहिए. What do you think about this? कि आप यहाँ से कुछ नया thread बना सकते हो. See, eventually, no matter, and here's the again crude reality. Just because my book के cover पे लिखा हुआ है number 1 best-selling author, how do you know I am telling the truth?
Yes.
I know of so many authors जिन्होंने सिर्फ छपवा दिया है cover पे कि best-selling author हूँ. I know that this is a lie. So आपने डिजिटल दुनिया में जो दिखाना दिखा दो. सच्चे मायने में मेरी definition of a bestseller in this country we live in, the quantifiable definition is any book that has sold 10,000 copies is taken as a bestseller. Now my counter question is, what if those 10,000 wale copy, now if an Amitabh Ghosh whose book is priced at 800 versus a Ravinder Singh whose book is priced at 200, how come the same 10,000 is applicable to both of them? I think he should be a bestseller at 4,000, economy of skills, but keep that logic also apart. For me, the purest definition of a bestseller is जो किताब फुटपाथ पे दिखती है ना या ट्रैफिक लाइट सिग्नल पे, मोस्टली पायरेटेड, अनफॉर्चुनेटली दिस इज एन आयरनी, वो बेस्टसेलर है. क्योंकि वो इंसान अपनी बाहों में 10 किताब वही कैरी कर सकता है जो फेमस होंगी. वो नहीं कैरी करेगा जो दिव्यांशु ठोक ठोक के बोल रहा है सीना की Amazon पे मेरी बुक बेस्टसेलर है. नहीं, वो तुम बोल रहे हो, वो कोई खरीद नहीं रहा. So the true definition, I'm just giving an example, but bestseller वही है जो सड़क पे है.
Yeah,
very well said.
I also think 100% agree, like every single word. I also think, and this is to answer the second question where you said, how do you plan to market? What are the marketing hacks? And to be, in all honesty, I do not understand this language. To any part of my mind. To any part of my career, all the things that I do, none of these things, the vocabulary just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in activism. It doesn't exist in writing as well. But I think just to answer your question in terms of marketing, it also depends on what kind of a writer you are. For example, for a Ravinder, marketing looks very different. Yeah. For you, your marketing will look very different. Yes. For me, my marketing looks very different. Like for me, okay, who is recommending my book? What's the blurb? Who does the blurb come from? What are the excerpts I'm sending in publications? What are the reviews from magazines? What are the reviews from newspapers? What do they say on the cover? I think that is very important. It depends on the kind of book you're writing. Also, again, when you're going in and deciding what book you're going to pick, you also have to understand who are the readers in India. How many people read books? How many people read the kind of books that you're writing? What do they value? People reading non-fiction, they may not value what my content looks like on Instagram, but they will value what the reviewer says about me, or what a specific person or a specific journalist, writer, their blurb says on the back of the cover. And I think it just is so personalized. I think you have to figure that out and then go with it.
So marketing hack here is to build a personal brand. Yeah. Also, while he's right that debut authors, it's like they're pumping money and it's like waste. But then imagine, 2 बार ad आ गया, 3 बार ad आ गया सामने, 4 बार आ गया. People will at least click and see. So as an author, that's your job to raise awareness, because otherwise people will not know what work you're doing. And जो Instagram है and Facebook है, they will not show it to a lot of people. So of course, it's both organic and inorganic, both go hand in hand. You cannot just rely on organic reach. For that, luck and your skill in creating content will come into play. But if you're not putting ads, I would say that you're not playing it full. You don't believe in your work.
Got it. I think interesting takes is what I would say.
I mean, separate people, separate
different
opinions, which is also
perspectives.
different
There's no
kinds
one
of
right
books,
answer.
right?
Anything cannot be, which is
yeah.
even better because it gets the conversation going. And I feel because of lack of time as well, because I have like hundreds of more questions that I can keep on asking till like 11 a.m., 11 p.m. Tonight. But I think just to kind of conclude, for where we can safely conclude is whoever's someone young interested in writing, do a litmus test. Social media is your way to go, and run with formats that you'd like to run, and find a niche within that, and within that niche, whichever platforms you feel sticks along with it, find that commonality. So if it's professional, that's LinkedIn. If it's short form video or text based content, you can do Instagram in whatever format, right? And from that niche, you can do a litmus test of how well you're writing and try to build a personal brand on that. And while doing all of that, you'll also get a sense of authoring a book, or getting a sense of how the audience is responding to what you ideally want to write. And once you've gone to that journey, you could explore all these different channels. The bottom line is, if you're persevering and you're going and talking to that guy who's selling books in Connaught Place, and really kind of pushing for it, then whatever problems that are there, you'll ideally find solutions to all those problems that's ideally there. Yeah, do you agree?
You summed it up very well.
It's a safe conclusion to make.
100%.
That's amazing. We have just a couple more, two more different, very quick ones.
You mean that very quick part of it?
Yeah. So we have two more. One is a rapid fire we'll do.
Okay.
We call it a mango fire. Everything is branded accordingly. And we have it's just a very safe Mango recommends, where you can share your recommendation of your favorite books that you're reading, some authors that you'd like to give shout out to, or writers you'd like to give shout out to. It's like a recommendation, web series, shows, etc. that you're watching. So we have our own format of Coffee with Karan. It's the most self-explanatory game that can be played on a podcast show, where we have a set of 7 to 8 questions, and you have to respond quickly. So I have about 7 to 8 cue cards for each, and we can begin without. I don't think anyone needs more clarification. Amazing. So Gurmehar, I have your cue cards first. So I'll go with you. Yeah, that's okay with
you.
Anybody?
No. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
He'll be here for.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh God.
Are you ready?
No.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Okay. The first one is one book you'd ban forever, no explanations allowed.
Never. No book banned. Ever. Never.
Never.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Everything's allowed.
A controversial book opinion that might get you cancelled.
Oh, I think dog earing books is great. I dog ear my books all the time. Dog earing my book?
Okay.
Like not using a bookmark, but just folding it in the corner.
पन्ने को पलट के मोड़
वो
देना.
readers को समझ आ जाएगा.
Sorry, I
उनको पता है.
I knew reading. Your biggest WTF moment in the publishing industry?
Oh, I think I made one factual error in my book, and it went to print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which author would you want to co-write a book with?
Oh, which author would I want to co-write a book with? Oh God. I think academics. There are multiple academics I want to co-write with. Christoph Jafferlaw. I don't know if I'm good enough though, but it would be like a stamp of honor.
All right.
Yeah.
If your latest book had a clickbait title, what would it be?
No clickbaiting.
No clickbaiting.
No clickbaiting.
Describe your writing style like a dating app bio.
Like a dating app bio. My writing style.
Yeah, that's the question. You can ask the team later about these questions.
Okay. Like a dating app bio.
Even the person who's asking the questions feels so about it.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, my dating app bios are so minimal. I've only ever had one, and which I'd never used except for like maybe 1 month. This ridiculous dating app that I was on. Anyway, my bio was I write, so I guess I'm just gonna go with I write because I
write full stop.
I write
that's
full
the minimalistic.
stop. That's just it. Like why put so much effort into something so ridiculous?
Interesting. All right, I think those are the set.
I'll put a subtitle. Read me.
Read me.
He knows the game.
Yeah. I should have you do this.
किताबें तो बहुत सी पढ़ी है मैंने. ये display pic पढ़ी है क्या? That's where things went wrong in the cafe. Okay.
You're fundamentally in a way with Let's Socialize. You have created an environment where I wouldn't say it's a dating app, but it's like
the
an
environment
offline,
was always in my head. It just came out.
It came out and built like this exceptional community from there. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering those questions.
Let's go.
Do we have a gift for the rapid fire as well? No, we gave the gift in the previous one.
Yeah.
All right. We'll
I'm banning books and all. What questions?
Yeah. Good. All right, Sweta ma'am, I have questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Amazing. What's your go-to excuse when missing a deadline? You've never missed one, no?
Good things take time.
Okay. What's harder, writing a book or selling it?
Selling it.
If you had to have dinner with any personality, dead or alive, who would it be?
I have two, Narendra Modi ji and Shah Rukh Khan.
And Shah Rukh Khan. Okay. The worst writing advice you've ever received?
Writer's block is, writer's block. Achha,
Worst,
advice, okay.
worst writing advice you've ever received?
I don't think I've received any worse, I think, no.
Yeah? You have a good surrounding around you.
No, I think that everyone has their perspectives. So.
Okay. Have you ever stolen a real life event and put it in your book without telling the person?
Of course, many times.
Of course.
That's what fiction authors do.
Nice. A plot twist so bad it made you throw a book?
No, I can't think of any right now. But
Okay.
I'm sure there must be some.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you for answering those questions. Plot twist so bad who made you throw a book?
I mean, the TV show where the plot final season was so bad I wanted to throw my TV screen.
Laptop?
Yeah.
Or your TV screen?
My TV screen. It was based on a book called Game of Thrones.
Alright Ravinder, are you ready?
Yeah. If I say no, will you pass?
नहीं
तो फिर चलो खत्म करते हैं.
शुरू करते
I
हैं.
can see the
Flight
stress
ready
on
हो रही
his
है.
face.
मेरी फ्लाइट छूट रही है, जल्दी कर, जल्दी बोल.
Oh God. Your forehead's being like full sweaty. You're stressed.
That's fine.
The weirdest place you've ever gotten a book idea?
The what?
The weirdest place
हाँ.
you've ever gotten a book idea?
Toilet seat.
Yeah, fair.
It's actually the most common.
Yeah, that's
you
not
get
weird
some-
at all.
It's a normal place. The book you wish you wrote but better?
But better. I can't say better, but Fault in Our Stars. I wanted to write that book. John Green's Fault in Our
Fault
Stars.
in Our Stars.
I don't think I can write better, but I think if I can write exactly what's written, that's my greatest go-to book.
It's a crazy one, yeah. The most insane DM you've received from a fan?
Insane. I'll give you two. One, the most sane and the most insane.
Bilkul.
Most insane. You sold your girlfriend's death to make money.
Oh my God.
It came. The nicest one, I named my child after your character in I Too Had a Love Story because I want my son to grow up and fall in love the way you love somebody.
Oh wow.
So sane and insane.
Damn, that was really
That's
good.
so sweet.
If you could steal credit for one bestseller, which one would it be?
The Fault in Our Stars. I think
we got
this
it.
is an answer.
The weirdest or most unexpected place you've signed a book?
Signed a book. I was again running when I was missing a flight and somebody at airport caught me. Sign a book.
Hence, late होना अच्छा बात है flight के लिए. A book you recommend to everyone?
Inheritance of Loss. Inheritance of Loss. It's a long old literary fiction. Jhumpa Lahiri. That was my first literary fiction that I read. Inheritance of Loss.
Got it. No, that's amazing, guys. Super. Thank
Okay,
you so
done.
much
Thank
for,
you.
Amazing.
for answering all those questions very quickly. We'll just quickly talk about a little bit of the recommendation aspect of things. You'll get there, don't
Okay.
worry. 7 minutes where we'd want to cover this segment as well. So the next segment that we have, very quickly, we'd love to know, which is Mango Recommends, and this is recommendation of books you're reading, shows you're watching, any authors you'd like to give shout outs to. So I have a list of 4 things. So a book that you'd recommend everyone to watch, and one by one you guys can go ahead and
Good.
Discovery of India.
The Discovery of India. Who's the author?
Jawaharlal Nehru.
Cut that.
Don't cut this one. Now you're doing comedy clock.
Now the clock and comedy is going under. I want to say that's my Alia Bhatt moment. But that definitely cut. Alright. Book recommendation, and please share the author when you
Okay.
say the book's name.
So autobiography for Yogi
Yeah.
by
Paramahansa
Paramahansa Yoganand. And
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F-U-C-K. One should read that one. Amazing.
Got it. Mark Manson.
Yeah.
Mark Manson.
Do you want me to say mine again?
No. Retain it.
That's fine. It's fine. We'll keep it. That's fine.
Okay.
It's more authentic. Any web show / movie?
Ooh, I'm watching this show by Shonali Bose and Vasant Nath, Ziddi Girls,
Ziddi Girls.
on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, really good.
okay, so for me, web shows are very different because I watch only the first or second episode and rest of it I read.
Right.
So that it saves my time. So I'm not the
In
person to
any
recommend.
movies, etc. Web show / movies. No.
Pushpa 2. Okay. Build your personal brand. Yeah.
Okay. Crazy.
Well, I watch a lot of things and I keep recommending them on my social media channel also. But I think हाल फिलहाल में जो अच्छी movies आई हैं, 3 stood out for me. One is Chamkila.
Yeah.
Specifically now, what is going on in this country at this point in time, offensive songs, etc. For that, Lapata Ladies stood out for me, and that guy, 12th Fail, that movie which
12th
came.
Fail is also
I think
very
these
nice.
3 movies in
Yes.
past 1 year were amazing for me.
Yeah.
Got it. I want to know specifically one piece of content for writers that they should read or watch or whatever it is.
I think The Artist Way is a great book.
The Artist's Way.
The Artist Way. It's a great workbook to go through when
it?
you're to go through.
I think everyone should read The War of Art. Should definitely read it. So
Got
I
it.
recommend all my students.
The War of Art.
War of Art, not
For
the art of war.
writing. The War of
War
Art.
of Art, not art
Oh,
of war.
acha.
Okay, War of Art, not art of war.
Newspaper.
Newspaper.
Yeah.
Newspaper
You-
पढ़ना चाहिए.
मैं रो- so I'm not a lot of
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of books, but I read every day 45 minutes newspaper. That's
Yeah.
how my day starts.
Oh.
The best part is, so I read. I'm a big consumer of Mint, the
Yeah,
newspaper. On
yeah.
Saturdays, Lounge edition comes. The best part is, everybody in India who would have written a book, at least a good lot of them, they are writing their columns. So I get because your question is to all the writers. इतनी डाइवर्सिटी है ना, कोई इंटेलेक्चुअल ज्ञान दे रहा है, कोई बड़े लतीफे के साथ ज्ञान दे रहा है. These economists who are using such easy going language sometimes and making you understand economy. There is diverse content. I spend a lot of time with newspaper every day.
Amazing. Final question for the evening. What's the one final piece of advice that you'd like to kind of give as closing arguments? The recommendation for all writers out there.
We'll start with the
I think we have given
1%.
enough advices.
Yes.
My
I
only
think
final advice is
amazing.
go write. That's it. वही हम नहीं करते हैं और हम पॉडकास्ट बनाते हैं कि क्या एडवाइसेस चाहिए. Just go write. Don't wait for anybody. Write the wrong thing and then keep correcting that. That should be your thing. And also, a book of 70,000 words is a mammoth task. Break it down into 500 words. Now you are putting a milestone. अब आपने उसको तोड़ दिया. Now you don't think about 80,000. You think about 500. 500 लिख लिया. Give a pat on your back. अब मैं कल देखूंगा. Next morning, reread what you have written the day before. Does it read exactly how it sounded in my head? If it doesn't, go. Change it, edit it, and bring a better version. Do this.
Amazing.
I totally disagree to this. Like I wouldn't ever say this that you go and edit because there is a flow. Okay, so there's a left and right brain. So when
Okay.
you're writing, you are in the flow and you are not in the self-critical mode. So you are in the expression mode. You are, so you're using different types of your right side of brain. Now the next day, when you go into the left side, you are in the critical mode. He's saying that you read and then you criticize or you find it, make it better, which is editing, kind of, you can say. So what I recommend is first you write those 70,000 words, because going from right to left is very easy, because we are born in this world right now who is everyone in critical mode. So we are all the time in the left side of our brain. But to get to this, right side, it takes effort. So don't lose that chain of thought. Write your book in next 2 to 3 days. 70,000 words is not like going to take a lot of time.
Okay.
Churn it out, and that's what authors do. When they sit, they don't go ahead and edit their work. They first finish their book, and then they go ahead and edit. So that's how I recommend. But yes,
I
think it's another
I
podcast
think,
we'll open
yeah,
up.
I think that's another podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Ravinder a bit. I mean, kudos to you. Honestly, if you're churning out books in 30 days, I want to know how you do it. I really want to know how you do it.
I take 1 year to write those 50,000 words.
It's just, that just feels, it takes everything out of you. I don't know how you're doing it. I really would want to.
So that's the creative flow process, the left and right side of
maybe
brain.
I guess that works.
That's what Stephen King does. So
Yeah.
I'm not sharing something that I have done.
Right.
So that's
For
what
sure.
Stephen King does.
Yeah.
That's what Brian Tracy
Yeah.
did.
Right.
So
No, even if they had not done, you still own it.
like,
I am
you
doing
still-
something which
no,
nobody
because
did.
it's
I would
actually-
rather take pride in that.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I wish I could. I feel like we were talking about writer's block earlier. Maybe I think
it's
I
a myth.
must. Yeah, okay. Maybe I think I must try your methods. However, I think for at least
Yes.
for me, definitely write with flow. 10 minutes. If you want to write beyond 10 minutes, keep writing. But do not put a target of more than 10 minutes. That would feel very overwhelming. Just go for 10 minutes. If it feels like you're in a flow, keep going. If not, let it be.
Amazing. So I think we can safely conclude that everyone says the same thing. Just go ahead and write.
Just go ahead and write.
Just go ahead and write.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you
you.
for coming
Yeah.
down.
Thank you for
Thank you for
having us.
sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing these insights.
you.
I'm sure
Yeah.
this is going to be incredibly valuable for everyone who watches this. Anyone who has a little bit of interest in writing as well, or thinking of themselves as potentially taking that as a career opportunity,
Yeah.
they're going to drive inspiration from your respective stories, which has been super inspiring. It's been my honor moderating this, co-hosting this along with you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to chatting more with you guys offline.
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Uber,
Great.
Ola, whatever comes, auto rickshaw.
honestly.
Amazing. Thank you so much for watching, guys, till the very end. If you've watched till now, then please make sure to like this video, share it with your friends if you liked, and other budding authors and writers or any other creators or coaches that be watching this. And also make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for more such content altogether. We'll see you guys very, very soon.